And
this shit's fire.
what is up, everybody? Welcome to another Pin to Gas podcast. And this episode is brought to you by Bison. So let me ask you guys a question. Are you a street rider, a track day junkie, a racer? Look no further than Bison. Don't buy an off-the-rack suit, but you can buy a full customized, tailored specifically for you in any colors, any designs, any logos you want. You can get the chest protector, the gloves, the undersuit, the whole nine. Even if you don't want a full suit, you can get a tailored to made jacket. So listen, use this discount code PIN2GAS 2024, receive 10% off all your merch. But yeah, listen, we have the legend in the house, Aaron Stevenson, and his son Micah. What is going on, gentlemen?
Hey guys, hey, how's it going? Everybody out there, good to see you, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an absolute honor to have you two on the podcast. And yeah, you know what? Since we have Micah here, do you guys just want to start it off with your guys' adventure you guys went on?
Sure.
So yeah, let's start there. So if you guys aren't familiar, a couple of things. I not only teach ADV, I ride ADV, and last summer I wanted to do something really special with Micah and for Micah. So I planned this trip for several years, and then we took off for a month last summer. We did 6,600 miles, 18 states, no interstate, back roads, BDR, dirt roads, trails, numerous national parks.
Oh, yeah.
And Micah was a trooper. He was awesome. So we covered a lot of ground. You want to tell them a little bit about it?
I mean, there was so much going on. It's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what I want to say, but there are so many descriptives of how I could kind of try to describe this trip that we went on, but it was just incredible. The sites that we got to see, I can't speak too much.
Just relax.
The sites that we got to see that month, they were just gorgeous. It looks like it was coming out of some sort of movie. It was incredible.
Well, speaking of movies, we were at Arches and taking pictures like crazy. My former life as a professional photographer is what paid for my racing career. So the pieces all melded together there in that moment. And so I'm doing all this photography, and we documented it. As a matter of fact, as far as the article goes, let me back up a little bit. So for y'all that don't know me, I'm also a racing coach and a skills development coach. And Blake Davis is one of my athletes. I've had Blake with me for about 5 years now. So I get back, I'm telling Blake about the trip and everything. And he goes, "Coach, you got to send that story to American motorcyclists. They love stuff like that." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, man." So I sent it to American motorcyclists, and they printed the story. And Chris, you've read it. And so all of this, goes back to being a photographer, and now I get to be a writer as well. But backing up a little bit. So we're watching Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and I point over. I said, "Micah, do you recognize that?"
And the scene of the movie that my dad paused at, it is almost a replica of the picture that my dad shot. There is a rock with kind of like a
kind of shaped like this.
Yeah, and it has like a little round head at the top. And so it looks exactly like the picture that my dad took when we were at Arches National Park.
So it was crazy because I told Mike, I said, we were standing right where Spielberg and Harrison Ford and the crew is standing. We were standing in that spot because my perspective was almost identical to what, the cinematographer had captured for Spielberg. It was cool. It was really neat.
That is awesome, right? Standing there where Han Solo was, right? It's
Han Solo, Indiana Jones. But the way we all said about this trip anyway is I took a piece of carpenter string, and we have a laminated National Geographic map, and we took a straight line from North Carolina to Yellowstone, and we just backroaded it and zigged and zagged it all the way across America. And we saw so much. Americana is what I wanted Micah to see. Just small towns, cornfields,
Oh my gosh. When we entered Iowa, you would look and you see corn, what some would call maize, corn. That is all you would
Children of the
see
corn.
there
Another corn.
miles and miles and miles. And I almost had nightmares.
And that day in Iowa was 400 miles in the rain.
Ooh.
Insane.
Yeah.
And again, what a trooper, man. He just kind of went with it and never said no. The only time Micah said no, I got off the BDR. Technology is only as good as the user. I got off the BDR on the backside of Richmond Pass in Colorado. And, I'm watching the trail. I'm just riding it. And all of a sudden, the trail degrades from single track to kind of no track into a gully that's full of boulders with a water crossing at the bottom. And I see that and I'm like, Lord, don't let me hurt my child. And so I went all the way down. I had no options really at this point because we're on a 500-pound bike, with Micah and all the gear. And I'm like, okay, we'll cross the water. We'll keep going. We get to the backside of Ghost Town 9. And I'm like, the road ended. What do we do now? Kept looking around, turned the bike around, found another two track and got out of there. Got to the bottom, got to some BLM land, and there was an entrance to the Alpine Loop. And I said, Micah, we can get back over to Silverton riding the loop. You want to go on the loop?
My answer was flat out no. I had a long day.
There were moments, stream crossings, baby heads, rocks about this big, and they called them filled to baby heads, but we thought that's a bit rough. Why don't we call them
death skulls? Because why not?
I love it.
There you go. So, while we're on the ADV thing, we might as well talk about it. Then we can get into my background in the racing and the coaching and everything.
Yeah.
So the article that you read in American Motorcyclist in April of 2024, 16 pages, bunch of photos. It was so popular and so well received that I was speaking with Mitch Bohm, the senior editor of American Motorcyclist, and I said, hey, man, do you know of a good shipping company? I want to ship my Tenere out to the West Coast. And then, Mike and I can do British Columbia. And he goes, well, how long are you going to be gone? I said, 2 weeks. He goes, would you like to ride a different bike? And I'm like, sure. What do you mean? He says, let me make some calls. So here's the announcement. American Suzuki is putting Micah and I on a V-Strom 800 DE. We leave on July the 10th, and we will ride the Oregon coast, the Washington coast, the Olympia Peninsula. We'll ferry over to Vancouver Island and ride across from Nanaimo to the Pacific Rim Park, all the way out west. Then we'll come back across, grab a ferry, and then we start doing British Columbia. And there's about a half a dozen national parks there. We'll end up in Glacier, Idaho BDR, Washington BDR. We're going to do as much dirt as we can and put this V-Strom through its paces. I'm really excited about riding this bike.
I bet it sounds like the most epic adventure. I mean, it's hard to top the first one. I'm sure this one's going to be just as good, right? And for those that have not read this article, listen, go and look it up online. It's out there. Read it. Trust me, it's absolutely an amazing story. He sent it to me. So I get the copy in the mail, and my dog decided that, she wanted to do other things with it. And
was that a comment that your dog made? I hope not.
Right. So I was mad. I was like, what are you doing? Because those who don't know, I actually took corner speed. Man, this is back in like 2002 at VIR. So it was a long time ago. And that was the first time I actually met Aaron, and been a huge fan and a huge follower of everything Aaron does for the sport. Right. And he sent me the article, and I read it, and I'm so close to my son, man. I cried happy tears of joy. It was an absolute amazing story. So people, go and check it out. Trust me, you will not be disappointed.
The editors did give me permission to put it on my website. So if you do go to my website, cornerspin.com, all you have to do is click down to the magazine cover or the lead page and click on it. It takes you right to the story. They were really cool to let me do that because so many of my non-motorcycling friends and friends of the family wanted to read it. They said, yeah, we'll let you republish that or post it. So that's an easy way to find it.
There you go. So what are you guys waiting on? Go and read the article. Trust me, it's absolutely amazing. So are you guys excited about your new adventure coming up?
Extremely. I've heard that the Canadian Northwest is one of, if not the most beautiful places on earth. So I'm definitely excited.
Oh, yeah.
And something else I'm excited about, seeing Cape Disappointment. The name just lights me up inside.
It's on the Oregon coast. Cape Disappointment. It's near Astoria. That's right, Astoria. Yeah, Astoria. But I was like, yeah, crazy. Where do you live? Cape Disappointment.
I love it. That's awesome. I've been on the West Coast. I've never been on an adventure like you guys have. I have never been to Oregon. I've been to Utah for the Great Salt Flats. It was absolutely amazing to see in real life.
Absolutely. We didn't get to the Salt Flats, but we did spend a lot of time in Utah. A lot of fun.
Yeah, Utah's a beautiful state.
Yeah, it is. And it's crazy. I mean, you've got the mountains in the north, and it looks like Mars in the south. It's a very unique place to travel and see things. Highly recommended.
Absolutely. It's just like anything else, Aaron and Micah. You see it all the time on TV until you finally get there in real life and you see it and you're like, wow, right? TV does not do it justice.
Justice to it.
No, absolutely not.
Well, it's like Canyonlands. Canyonlands is so accessible versus the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon, I think it's permits, it's plane rides. Maybe they still do the donkey or the mule rides to the bottom. But at Canyonlands, we rode the rim trail, the Schaefer rim trail, all the way to the bottom. Now, I didn't get to see anything. He did. I'm watching the road because we're right
it's like
there.
15 feet wide. I mean, if you go off, I don't think you're coming back.
We're gonna fly. Yeah, we'll be flying.
That's awesome. So, Micah, let me ask you this: what was the most beautiful state you went through on you and your dad's first journey?
Oh, that is going to be a really hard question. I have to say either Colorado or Utah.
Yeah, every state I think had its beauty. The Black Hills are gorgeous. Hello to Gary Kinsler, Gary and Kelly. We stayed with them for a couple of days when we were in that area. And the Black Hills are gorgeous. Montana, Yellowstone, Upper Wyoming, all that's beautiful. But there's again, that word unique, the uniqueness of Utah. And then you get to Colorado. Our last night of camping, we camped at 11,000 feet just below Cinnamon Pass. It was gorgeous. Milky Way, the stars, counting satellites.
When we were at the Kinsler's house, they have a little deck on the roof. We got to sit out on our backs looking at the stars, and we got to literally count satellites as they passed by us.
First time he got to see the Milky Way also.
And because the East Coast is so light polluted, you get to see the stars, but you don't get to see near as much as you do out there. It's so gorgeous.
It is. That was always one of my favorite things because I lived in Colorado and at nighttime, look up at the sky. I mean, you could see everything. Out here in Virginia, yeah, you don't see much at all, right? I mean, you do, but it's nowhere near the same.
It's nothing like out west.
No.
And the night that we were with Gary and Kelly, we're laying on the deck, laying on our backs, looking up at the sky, and the shooting star comes across low on the horizon, and it looked like 4th of July sparklers. It was like the stereotypical shooting star. It was like bright. You could see the little stream coming off of the back. It was. But even Gary and Kelly said it was one of the brightest, biggest ones they've seen. And I went, just for Micah. All for the kid. Awesome.
All for you, Micah. Absolutely. I bet it was magical. I already know it was. It's to see something like that, especially how high you are in the altitude and you feel super close to the stars. It's a unique feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. So listen, are you guys excited about the new motorcycle you're going to ride, the Suzuki, right?
Oh yeah. I've already been to the shop down in Charlotte, Team Charlotte, and they were really cool to let me look it over. And one of the guys there, Zach, gave me a tutorial on all the electronics that are on it. So that'll be really cool to play with, what they have. The T7 is just a big dirt bike. Just you get on it and you ride it. So it'll be nice to have something that has a little sophistication to it. It'll be fun to ride that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Suzuki.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So listen, guys, what was your favorite part, Aaron? And like you said, every state's different, right? But every journey, you always have a little bit favorite over something else, right? You're like, oh my God, this is just magical. Whether it was food, let's start out with that. What was the best food you guys ate on your trip?
2 places, the One-Eyed Buffalo in Thermopolis.
Oh, that was incredible.
Amazing food. They even put a picture of it in the article, because like everybody else, I'm shooting food pictures and stuff. And then we stayed with another family. We had several stops. Our first night out and I'll get right back to your question. Our first night out from from here to Salisbury. We rode 500 miles the first day, and we stayed with our friends, the Hessels. Edward Hessels is an old school road racer and a good friend I've known for many, many years. So we stayed with Edward and Stacia, and then we stayed with Gary and Kelly. And then our third stop was in Midway, just outside of Provo, and that was the Peñas, Terry and Jorge Peña. And they took us to dinner, and that meal was pretty incredible as well.
Gosh, that was amazing.
But then there were places like Green River, Utah, where we're eating Indian fry bread with chicken and gravy and corn and everything. I mean, the dinner looked like a train wreck, but it was absolutely delicious. Just the way they piled it onto the plate, it was really great. So yeah, those were some of the really special meals. But I can tell you one meal that was really special. We're on the Utah BDR, and we're up at 9,500 foot elevation. We're starving. We pull out the freeze dried beef stroganoff, add some hot water after heating it up, and
it's actually decent. It tastes like somebody just prepared it right in front of you. It's really good.
Especially when you're hungry. It's 5-star Michelin cuisine. It's amazing.
That is a fact, right? We've all been there. I don't normally eat this, but right now it's the most amazing thing I've ever had in my life.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff, man. This is awesome. So, dude, your journey, the whole way through you guys' journey is such an amazing story. And you guys had so much fun. I could see the smiles and the energy coming from the both of you when you guys are talking about it. And so, what most on this next trip you guys coming up that you're most looking forward to see?
Honestly, I don't really know yet. I think I'm gonna have to wait and see. There's gonna be a lot to see there, so I think just being able to be in Canada at all is a wonderful privilege. So
having him see the Pacific Ocean, going out to the west side of Vancouver Island to a really remote area is really what I'm excited about him seeing. And I've been communicating with the Facebook group Sea to Sky, the British Columbian come on brain work ADV group. So it's Sea to Sky ADV, and the folks on there have been really awesome. The Kootenay BC folks also have been really cool about giving us info, and there's so many great off-road trails. And I'm looking at photographs where people are just pulling their dual sport off and taking a picture of the background. You're like, wow, everywhere you point a camera, it's a postcard. So I'm excited about just the whole thing, but specifically how the impact it's going to have on him. Micah gets to, oh gosh, that's the most important part of this whole American Motorcyclist thing. So I'm going to write this new article, and I get to ride the bike. He gets to write his own article.
That is awesome. Are you looking forward to that, Micah?
I am. I love writing. I enjoy it. It's just when I'm in school and a teacher assigns something to me, my brain goes blank. So it's definitely fun to do it when it's not like the pressure of, come on, kid, you got to get it done by tomorrow night.
So here's the other part. I was talking to Mitch Bohm just the other day, and I said, well, let's do like a half page or a page. Let's not tax Micah. And he goes, dude, just have Micah journal every day, write his story. I'll help edit it and bring it into like a really cohesive story, which he did a great job. He was the editor for the Malcolm Smith book, Malcolm. So he helped Malcolm write that book. And so Mitch took all of Malcolm's writings and compiled it into a book. And I've seen how he does his work. It's really great. So I'm looking forward to that. And with Micah also being a photographer, yeah, this could be really sweet. Nationally published at age 12.
That's an amazing, absolutely amazing. And so let me ask you this, Micah, how did you get into photography?
Actually, my dad was the one who really got me into it. My uncle supplied the equipment, but my dad, he actually used to be a professional photographer. That his racing when he was younger was sponsored by Aaron Stevenson Photography, which was his company. So he worked with models and all sorts of stuff, and he took pictures. That was his job. So he still has the skill, and so he helps me with that. So that's really fun.
That's awesome.
So
photography. I was going to say photography is one of those man, anybody can take a picture, right? But it's hard to capture that one picture. You see, it makes you feel a certain type of way, right? It's like flipping through a motorcycle book. You see plenty of people dragging their knees and their elbows, but there's always that one picture of somebody breaking real hard, or even Jorge Martin dragging his shoulder. Every time I see it, I'm like, wow, right? I mean, that's
And so one of the ways to say it is, do you snap a photo or do you create an image? And as a photographer, my job, especially in advertising back in the day, is like, I've got to create a feel, I've got to create an image, I've got to find the right moment, I need the right composition, which are things that I've been instilling with Micah. You know, dividing your field of view into thirds, and this is where the eye is going to go, and here's how you construct a photograph. So now Micah is starting to look at things the way a photographer looks at things. So when I put things together, especially when I'm shooting, the beauty now of digital is like I don't have to calculate every single piece of film that goes to the camera. Like, God, I've only got 10 rolls of film. What do I do? With digital, you're just shooting constantly. So now you're just going through gigs of information, but it affords the photographer the ability to shoot multiple angles and multiple images and exposures. So you really get that right feel. Like what you're saying, there's that moment. It's like, where it's Jorge Martin or whoever, that the elbows right on the ground. Oh, that's that quick moment. It's also the most uninteresting part of the turn if you're a racer, but we can talk about that more in just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is, and I always, man, photography is always something I kind of wanted to get into. I mean, I take photos on my obviously my cell phone, but I just never really got into it. Right, I got friends that do it over there in BSB and here, and it's awesome. I see them carry, like, okay, for example, I went to Cadwell Park in BSB, right, in August of last year, and my good mate Dave Neal. See, I'm backwards too, right here. He has a podcast called Off Track Podcast where it's all BSB, and he invited me over there. I went over there, and one of the cameramen, I actually got to walk on the Superbike grid. But before that, we had to wait on this hill right here, hill right next to where the podium is. And this cameraman laid down this big old lens. I mean, it was huge. And I was like, holy cow, look how big that lens was. So I ended up walking up to him like, hey, man, I'm Simcoe, from America. It's an honor to be here, just going crazy. I was like, man, I got questions about your camera. Like, dude, this is awesome. So he's pulling out all these different lenses for different shots and lights. And there's a lot to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's
yeah, shooting action, shooting studio, it's all different, but it's really cool stuff. Yeah, it's nice to have a nice big piece of glass that will catch that action that's further out. So yeah, man, that's a very cool experience that you got to go to Cadwell Park.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. I had the best time of my life out of any. I've been to MotoGP, Laguna Seca. I mean, I've been to a lot of racetracks and a lot of different race organizations, and absolutely, hands down, my favorite. First of all, Cadwell's my favorite track in the world. You guys should go. I'm telling you, that mountain jump, it's one of those things you'd see on TV.
See it, right? See it live.
It's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life, and especially when they just rip it over there. And then literally it's like 5-6 feet wide, the track, which blew my mind, right? It's the whole experience. It was just, yeah, absolutely an amazing experience. Love to go back, which I plan on to in 2025. So
very cool.
Yeah.
One of my athletes right now is in Isle of Man. So he's getting the full Isle of Man experience. He's sending pictures wearing the Corner Spin logo, with his t-shirt, staying there elbows up by the side of the track. I mean, 2 and 3 feet away as they come ripping by. Really, really cool.
So speaking of the TT real quick, it is my favorite race out of any race, out of BSB, MotoGP, all that. The TT is absolutely hands down my favorite. Well, I remember watching it the first time I watched it. One of my friends' dads put a tape feed back in the VCR days, right? That tells us our age. Puts it in, and he's like, "You ever heard of the TT?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Check this out." My mind was just like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
Been so in love with it ever since. I watch it religiously every year.
Very cool.
I really want to go back. Not go back. I want to go. And I've got some friends that actually race at the TT, and it's just absolutely amazing. Those guys, they are so different than any other motorcycle racer I've ever met.
It's different mentality to ride the real quote real road races. It's a different mentality altogether. In 2004, I went to Macau, second mechanic with Jeff May. So Tim Anderson was there. I was helping Jeff and Jody, and of course we had Josh Hayes and Richard Stamboli, his team, and then Jeremy Toy was there. So those are the three American riders, and to be a part of that and to watch everything right up close and be in the pits is like, wow, that was something else. And then you're talking to all the guys, there's the bar stories I have with me and John McGinnis, and we won't get into that. But those guys are wide open. They're a wild bunch. Yeah, everybody said Northwest 200, you got to watch. It's a mass start, right? It's a road race. It's not a time trial. So that's on my bucket list is the Northwest. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, me too. It's just it's Aaron. It's one of those things we watch it on TV and it gives us goosebumps when we watch the races. Right, we're like, holy cow! I want to be that fan right there on that ragged edge, right where they literally come by a foot from you.
Oh yeah.
Mock Jesus speed, right? And you're just like, holy cow, I'm sure the air and the feeling is completely different than going to a MotoGP race or a BSB and a Moto America. To me, I don't know if you feel the same, Aaron, but when you go to a different like Moto America versus BSB, the energy is different.
Well, yeah, absolutely. What's funny is to talk about being right on the edge. In 2009, I was working for Speed TV at the Indy GP, right? So Neil Bailey and I are in the speed pit, and we're interviewing all these different people. I had been an FIM MotoGP official back in 05, 06. So that gave me some, entrance way to some of the athletes and some of the people I knew so we could get interviews going. Point of the story is that that evening we go to the Indy Mile, okay? And it's Saturday night, right? And we go in, and here's Rossi, and here's Dovizioso and all the guys, right? They're right up on the wall, or I think it was Melandri, but they're right up on the not raw, but the rail rather. So we're on the inside of T1 of the Indy Mile, and it was just like the movie Faster, where Rossi F-bombs. He's like, he's standing right beside me, right? And everybody's laughing because that's the first time Rossi had seen a mile. And it just blew him away. So that was pretty cool. That was really neat.
That's awesome. I actually went to every Indy MotoGP race there was in Indianapolis except for 1 year. It was man, I miss it. We need more MotoGP races in America. So hopefully.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Laguna Seca, both for World Superbike and MotoGP. It's a beautiful part of the country. Yeah. The track is just epic. I mean, don't get me wrong, Coda's cool, Indy's cool. I took him to Coda. And funny thing, here's a sidebar. Micah was 6 at the time.
I
6 or
7. Blur.
It's been a few years back, but we were guests of Alpine Stars. This is the best part. We're in the hospitality tent, and the marketing director, she looks down at Mike and goes, "Are you a Marc Marquez fan? He's going to be here any minute." And you said,
"No, Marc Marquez is a poopy head."
Oh no! She goes, "Well, we're just going to keep that to ourselves, little boy. Right? Now, we're Rossi fans." I'm like,
I love it.
But that afternoon we're sitting there. Kenny Jr. comes in, Ben Spies comes in, his mom Mary is there. So Micah's sitting there next to Mary Spies, and I've got pictures of Micah, and she's like, she's leaning over and talking to him. It's like, okay, eat all your vegetables. You're gonna be a big strong racer. You got to eat your vegetables. It was cool. And so he's palling around with Kenny Jr.'s kids, and we got to hang out some with Kenny Sr., Kenny Jr., Thomas Lothey, and all those guys were doing all of the legends. They're doing autograph signings, right? And Micah and Kenny's kids and some of the other kids are all standing behind, Kenny and Thomas Lothey and Kenny Jr. And I'm sure all the Europeans are taking pictures. You're hearing it in various languages, like, who the heck are these kids, right? So it was a neat experience for me. I'm getting to hang out with the who's who. For him, he's just hanging out with kids. it's just kids. So it'll mean something later.
Absolutely, because I see the Rossi poster in the background. Right, he is absolutely my favorite road racer of all time, hands down. As far as short circuits go, right?
He's the GOAT. I mean, as
The
far as
goat, straight up.
circuit racing,
Yep,
he's the GOAT.
he's
I
the
mean,
goat.
I think the next person I would put in line would be Giacomo Agostini.
Yeah,
Ago, I mean, 15 world titles. And we've got to look era to era. Some people say they're like, like boxing. It's like Tyson was the greatest. No, Ali was the greatest. No, Joe Louis was the greatest. But you're looking at different eras. You have to look at the eras. So like, I think of our modern era that Rossi's the greatest of all time, and drop back 30 years or so, and you're going, yeah, Agostini was probably the greatest of his era. I mean, 15 titles is no joke. That's a lot of work.
And not only that, on different machinery and different classes at Mike. So if you guys
over railroad tracks,
bro, like people, if you don't know who Ago is, please stop listening to this and go directly and go Google him and look him up. He is like Mike Hellwood too, right? Mike Hellwood's one of those to me. I always tell people this. To me, there's been a lot of great TT comebacks from injuries and all that, right? But to me, I think Mike Hellwood has the most special story of a comeback because he's left for 11 years and then comes back and wins at the TT, right? I mean, that alone is just like,
he's a legend, absolute legend. And there's so many, and we're blessed to be a part of this. I mean, we're in the Marquez era now, right? And now we're going to see more and more of these athletes moving forward. They're going to have 3, 5, 7 world titles. So yeah, it's cool.
It is actually named my son after Nikki Hayden and Valentino Rossi. My son's name's Hayden Rossi after them two. So
very cool.
It's he don't go by Hayden though. He goes by Rossi. So
very neat. That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so Micah, who's your favorite racer?
Valentino Rossi.
Even though he's retired, hey, he's still our fave.
Yeah, hey, nobody would well, I take that back. There's a lot of people out there that would disagree, but us right here, right now, 100% in agreements, right? I think the next big guy coming in for real, he's already there, is Pedro Acosta. I think Pedro Acosta
is amazing. But let's sidebar over to Joe Roberts for a second. How about that? Top of the box. Way to go, Joe. Man, that is so cool to see an American standing on the top roster. That's just something else. And I wish him the best this season. I want to see him up there again. I want to see him more than once up there again if possible, right?
Dude, we so badly need Americans, not only in MotoGP, but everywhere else in the world, right? I think that BSB, I mean, everywhere, I think we need America, especially in MotoGP. I hope Joe Robert makes it that next step, but every time, he's absolutely my favorite in Moto2. I mean, come on, he's an American. I gotta cheer for Roberts. Let's go, Joe, right? Like G.I. Joe, let's go. Yeah, good stuff, man. It's man. So we actually have a comment from Flat Track Factory.
Michael Dillon.
He says, would it be fair to say corner spin might not exist except for a telephone pole, commercial AC unit, an XR100, and the Penguin?
Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's touch on that since Mike brought that up. Hey, Dylan, hope you're doing good. My buddy Michael Dillon, former National 20 Grand National Flat Tracker. Mike taught me so much about flat track, and this is back when we were starting to become friends. And I was helping coach him as well as Scott Harwell. And Mike went on and won a few rare national titles in road racing, but a fabulous rider. But anyway, we met at a track day, and I didn't know who he was. And we start jibber jabbering, and one thing leads to another. We become friends, and he said, man, we got to find some place to ride. And I said, I really want to do this flat track thing. So behind my photo studio was another warehouse with a big open parking lot. So I call up the guy, my buddy Matt, that was the photographer there. I said, do you use that back lot? And he goes, no. I said, could I make a little track back there? And he said, sure. So the next thing you know, I've called in tandem axle dump trucks with sifted red clay and have it dumped in the back there between my fence and Matt's back door. And then we get my old 82 Toyota 4x4 with a big I-beam. I drill holes through it, put eyelets in it, take some anchor tie downs, throw it on the bumper. And now we're shoveling and pushing that dirt around. So I'm driving the truck and Mike's on the tailgate doing this, rocking that beam, flattening out all the clay. Then we wheel pack it with my worn out tires off the old Toyota pickup. Pulled it to the side 100, which we lovingly and affectionately now call the War Dog. I still have it. And I rebuilt it a little bit, and we used it out of corner spin steel after, I think it's 24 years old now. So we still ride that thing some. It smokes, it's a mosquito fogger. But going back to the story, at the time, Mike wasn't dating anybody. I wasn't dating anybody. And it's like, dude, come on over. So we would, and this track, let me tell you, this track was only maybe 30 feet in diameter, if that. And there was a telephone pole. There was a fence with a nail sticking out of it. There was an outdoor air conditioning unit. And you really had to put a good lap together so you could almost burn off the air conditioning unit, avoid the fence, and every now and then you kiss the telephone pole a little bit. And we're in there scrubbing the front and sliding it sideways and round and around and around. And as soon as the pipe's almost glowing red, I stop, Mike jumps on it. Then he rides for a while. Then he jumps off and I jump on it. And we just kept going and going and going. And we did this every night, I think for maybe a year, which was what also motivated me to go out and buy land to start corner spin. And so Mike was one of my original instructors. The Penguin, when he put that up, the Penguin Drive-In was this burger joint just down the road from us. And we'd go in there, get a couple of small blocks, because at small blocks, the Hemi and the full-blown Hemi, something like that, or the V8 and the Hemi, and we'd get a couple of small block burgers, a couple of Coronas, jibber jab, and then meet the next night. And we did it over and over and over again. But it even gets better. So Scott Harwell, once we started doing some parking lot racing and riding, he joins the fray. So where the Super Target is now on Kings Drive in Charlotte, it was just a big parking lot from the Charlottetown theaters. So we went out there, set up cones, and set up a road course. And it's me, Scott Harwell, Michael Dillon, and we're riding this course over and over and over until after a while we didn't need cones. It was just rubber everywhere. And these are on XR 100s and TTR 125s and DRZ 125s, just smoking it, just going as hard as we could. And people would come out and watch us, like from the hair salon on the second floor. And here's these three grown men riding kids' bikes as hard as we can go, almost, pushing each other into poles and the lights, fixtures and stuff. It was a blast. But that was all the seedlings for developing corner spin. And both Harwell and Dillon were two of my original instructors. We were the three amigos. And man, we taught together for years. So there's your plug, Dillon. Follow Flat Track Factory, Flat Track 20, Flat Track Factory 20. That's the correct way to say it. Mike is one of the most knowledgeable flat trackers I know. He's really fast, even at his old age. So he's a bit younger. He's in his early 50s, but he still really knows how to rip. So there you go.
I love it. So you guys, you heard what Aaron just said, Flat Track Factory. Go look him up. Absolutely legend of the sport. He actually has another comment, man. He says, that story sounds fake, but it's not. The cops would watch us, then say, you better not be here in 2 hours when we come back.
So the security guard would come out and he goes, now listen, y'all can't be here. This is private property. I'm going to be back in 2 hours. You better be gone. Right? So the security guard takes off. And we go, and about an hour 50, we load up and we split. Like a week later, 4 or 5 days later, we show back up. And the guy comes out and goes, now I told y'all to be gone. Y'all can't be out here. I'm going to be back in 90 minutes. That kind of a thing, right? This went on and on and on. One day we're out there and we're ripping it up. And two city officers pull up and a state patrol. We're like, oh, man, we are done. We're going to jail with our hands, in cuffs. And we stop and we respectfully come up. Hello, officers. How are you? Is there something we can do with it? Oh, no. We all ride. We just want to watch y'all. Really?
You were like, yes.
So it's like, okay, let's auger ourselves in a little bit more and put on a show. But it was great. It was a really, really fun time.
That sounds like an amazing story. I wish I was there for that adventure, right? To be part of that.
Well, if you think about it, you know, all this mini racing now, when you go to VIR kart and CMP kart and all these kart tracks where folks are learning in the racecraft, that's essentially what we were doing 20 years ago. You know, we're out there just like ripping it up, you know, on parking lots. We're doing the same thing now that you pay 100, 150 bucks a day to go do. So and anybody that says, well, man, it's like, you know, I don't ride dirt. I'm a road racer. Well, if you look around, you got the VR46 Riding Academy. You know, you've got Rich Oliver out west. You've got, you know, Colin Edwards. You've got Danny Walker. You got myself. I had a great conversation with three-time world champion Wayne Rainey, and he said, Aaron, he goes, man, if you're not a student of traction, you'll never have the confidence in the front end. And you'll never go fast. And it's absolutely true. So that is why all of these schools I named, mine included with that, is why road racers and supermoto riders and track day folk gravitate towards these schools and do this training. It's the same and the same. It's physics, it's gravity. What happens at 10 happens at 110. What happens at 15 happens at 115, 150. It's the same and the same. That's why I've got this huge, you know, umbrella of all these Moto America athletes I've worked with for the last 20 years. Because it works. I mean, this stuff, what we do and how we do it, it's how you train. When Jackson Blackman went to the VR46 Academy and trained with Valentino, I think Bagnaia and some of the other guys were there, and he came back, he says, Coach, corner spin's the closest thing in the U.S. that you're going to find to Rossi's Ranch. Now, granted, they ride 450s and we ride 100s, but as far as like what we do, how we do it, what it's all about, it's road racing in the dirt. So I know we're just kind of bouncing around everywhere, but we started with, you know, Mike Dillon kind of coming in and asking questions, but really that was the seeds for corner spin, and it has evolved. That's why it's road racing in the dirt. That's what it's evolved into. And we have a pretty strong following now of people that want to come out and train with us.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I actually want to come out and take the corner spin school. That's something I always wanted to do, is learn how to ride in the dirt. Even though I grew up riding in the dirt, I didn't really push myself or anything like that, right? So
Micah and Nathan Galker were the youngest corner spin graduates to date until last year, and you guys were 8. I think they were 8. I've been working with Nathan Galker now for the last 5 years, and you know, hey buddy, if you're watching this podcast, heal quickly. He had a big off in Spain last weekend, broke his arm. But the docs looked at it, and the orthopedist said it's a clean break. It's right by the growth plate. He should be back soon. I mean, for an adult, you're going to be out for probably 6 months. But for, you know, a growing boy and a tough guy, a warrior like Nathan, he should be back probably in a couple of months. So we'll get him back out to spin and get him training. But when you watch the videos of Nathan, like Nathan and Blake Davis, I have them tucking the bars full. I mean, full lock, just all the way around the corner. And when people look at that, they're like, well, why are those guys doing that? It's like rake, trail, load, inside bar pressure. What do all of those things mean? Why do you need to know that? Because, and I'll tell you the answer right now, because if you don't know how to do that and go way beyond the load and the limit, you're going to be reactive versus proactive. And you want to be proactive in those moments, because that moment of freezing, you're done. You're going down. You're not getting it back. If you're not the DC character Flash, you're not coming back to it. You don't have enough time. So that's why we work on these really advanced drills. And you'll watch, you know, guys like Blake go out there and just like, you know, pushing the front through turns. You'll just see the front sliding and pushing. You look at the angle of the bars and go, that front tire's sliding all the way through the turn. It's because we train like that. And all the other guys that train like that, it's what gives them the confidence to go so fast.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, my man Giacomo Manera come out there.
Yeah, Giacomo.
Yep.
Yeah,
and Ryan Wolf. Yeah, they're all good friends of mine, man. He sent me a video of him out there doing exactly what you just said. Exactly. Shoot, spinning. I was like, dude, that is proper mega, bro. Like,
I love teaching the guys that. The nice thing is, like, when I teach somebody like G, I just call Giacomo G. When I teach G something like that, he gets it really quick. I've learned how to break it down and teach it, but he's already got such a great skill set that he's able to pick up on it really quick. And then I go up to VIR and I watch him, you know, on like a 450 or a 500, and he's doing it there. I'm like, you go, boy. Me, I'm Miyagi now. You go find the balance. I'm going to go have a Pepsi. You do it. right?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, and actually, that's where corner spin is, and corner speed is at VIR, correct?
No,
Oh,
incorrect.
okay.
Corner speed, I was at VIR for 22 years, and as they've gone the way of the car and the bike has gone the way of the dodo, so many of us have lost our dates. And I got to the point where I was competing with track days so much that I said, I'm going to focus my energies on coaching at corner spin because what I can teach is so much more advanced. Corner spin is just north of Salisbury. It's like almost equidistance between Greensboro and Charlotte. And I've got a 25-acre training facility there. I've been there for 18 years, 17, 18 years now. And so I've got a short track. I've got TT tracks. When you go clockwise and counterclockwise, probably 40 different configurations. I've got a track that's mostly complete for riding the big bore stuff for 450s, a TT track. But yeah, I've got my own property. That's where I've been forever. But yeah, corner speed, I taught VIR, Barber. We were started as the official school there for a little while we're still at VIR. So we were running, both areas. And, Carolina, Putnam Park, been around, to a bunch of different tracks. But now I'm just focusing on corner spin. And now that I've started doing the ADV schools, man, it's like a whole nother world. It's the fastest growing segment in motorcycling. So I have a guy by the name of Charles Luck. That's my co-instructor. He was on the BMW GS Trophy team that went to Thailand back in 2017. He was the U.S. Trophy winner, the GS Trophy winner here. And really competent guy, very good rally racer as well. So the two of us teach this ADV class, and I'm giving him major props because he's a really, really solid instructor. But I really love teaching this stuff. Get out in the woods on a Tenere 700 on single track or a 1200 BMW single track. Dude, it's cool. Going through gullies and up, switchbacks. It's a lot of fun. And we teach guys how to do that, and gals. When I say guys, it's like the New York vernacular. Use guys. It covers everybody. So, but yeah, you guys and gals come out. We do the class. We build their confidence. Same thing with corner spin, the regular corner spin, right? You have muscle memory, skill sets, build the confidence, and you go off, with a different perspective on motorcycle control completely. We even say it differently. You're not a rider, you're a pilot. Because when you look at an FIM rule book, it's piloto. You're a pilot. If you're thinking piloting something, you're making an input. You make a bad input, you get a bad result. When you say rider, you think about somebody on a horse. When you ride a horse, how many brains are at work? 2. When you ride a motorcycle, how many brains are at work? None. 0.
Oh yeah, 0. I was like, wait, your brain, right? Yeah.
Laugh at the jokes, the day goes quicker.
Yeah, right. I love it. Yeah. So
you heard all this material over and over.
I haven't, and neither has a lot of people. And that's why we're telling it, right? So when I took your school, it was actually at VR, and you had the RC51 at the time. And I'll never forget. There was a guy that had a 998, if I remember, a yellow one, and you actually jumped on it and rode it that day and come back. And I was just staring at your RC51, and I was like, one day I'm gonna own that bike because it's absolutely an amazing machine. We had this conversation off camera too.
24 years later, man, I wish I had my RC again just because it's such a cool machine. Interestingly enough, I never really came to terms with that bike. I think I have as many dented gas tanks as I do trophies. It was just one of those bikes that, it's nothing like the HRC bike. But as far as a really cool motorcycle, hands down, it's rocking. But like I said, it's nothing like Nicky's or Collins. It was nothing like those bikes. Those HRC bikes were different animals altogether. But I really enjoy the bike, and now nostalgia 24 years later. Yeah, I'd like to have an RC. I think it'd be cool to have one. I've got an instructor, Brent, that has one, and I'm first on the list if he ever sells it. So we'll see.
I love it. And who can never forget the last time Joey Dunlop won the TT was on the SP1 RC51.
So the last time he won the senior superbike was SP1.
Yep, wow. And he actually had Aaron Slight's superbike motor in it.
Wow.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love the TT. If you can't tell, it's my favorite thing on the planet. That and BSB. Listen, Aaron, real quick. I know we're jumping everywhere, but that's
No,
the
it's all
beauty
good.
of a podcast, right? We just go all over the place. British Superbikes is my favorite road racing series out of all of them, right? And I'm not talking, I love Moto America and all my friends that race in it. To me, BSB, it's not like they're faster than we are. Their super bikes, they don't have no electronic aid, so it's proper way of racing, like the old school way, right? And to me, that blows my mind because they're racing 240 horsepower motorcycles with no traction control, none of that. And
Well,
it's
here's an interesting sidebar. I mean, I don't know what's happening this season or the season prior, but 4 or 5 years ago, I was working with Stefano Mesa, and Stefano was, coming out to spin, and I was coaching and helping him. And, I was speaking to him about a ZX10, and on a ZX10, it goes from 0 to 10. 10 is maximum traction control, 0, you got nada. And Stefano told me, he says, typically, and this was like 210, 215 horsepower. He said, I keep mine set at 1. So it's basically turned off.
yeah.
So that way, if you need to spin the tire, if you want to be able to really utilize the chassis, manipulate, through throttle steering the bike, you can do it. If you have too many rider aids, then it like you're just saying, it takes some of that creativity, for lack of a better word, or a great word, creativity, away from the pilot. So you want to be able to, as the pilot, manipulate the bike, which is why riding in the dirt's so much fun. You can scrub the front, spin the rear, drift both tires. It's giggles. I mean, when people come to me and they say, what's the fastest way around corner spin? I'm like, no. What's the funnest way around corner spin? That's the proper answer, because you don't have the opportunity to really practice scrubbing the front, spinning the rear, and drifting both tires. And if you're doing that on a high friction environment on asphalt, you're really, flirting with disaster. The nice thing about doing it in the dirt, like what we're talking about, and we get back to the electronics and bouncing around, is the fact that you can fall down and get up and do it over and over and over again. We make the joke and call corner spin the beer and Advil school. You might want a beer. You're going to need Advil.
I love it.
Yeah, this guy will tell you, he's been on the ground a few times. He's done the proper flying W, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah, no. When my dad, I was like, what, 9?
No. You were more like about 4.5 or 5. He's about 5.
Yeah. So I was 5, and I was like, Dad, I really want to jump. So my dad got a little bit of clay. He made a small jump down at the
front straightaway on the TT, right?
And so he made it, and my dad was like, hey, do you want help? And I was like, no, I do it myself.
I do it myself.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I get my bike and I go up to it at full gas and face plant immediately. And literally my butt's up here, right here, and my 2 feet, and just go.
Flying
My dad has
W.
a perfect picture of it.
I was doing video. I was riding behind him, and he's like, he wouldn't let me coach him. I'm like, let me give you, no, I'll do it myself, right? He goes over the front plants. He does a flying W. I did a screen grab of that. It was ugly. When I basically threw my camera down and ran to him, because as the concerned father, I didn't know how hurt he was. But then once I saw he wasn't hurt, he was like, we checked him out. That's when I started laughing, like, do it yourself, huh? So, but it made for a great photo that one of these days I'm gonna have to print it. It's a cool shot.
You absolutely, you're gonna have to print it and give it to him to his 18th birthday, right? Here you go.
I can tell you, this kid's been riding since he was 3. Motorcycles really aren't Micah's bag. I mean, he doesn't race. He rode, like maybe one flat track race. He knows how to use a hot shoe, but it's been karate, swimming, soccer. Now it's cross country. I'm working on getting my completion of art in a Filipino martial art called Baluntawak Quintada Arnis. It's stick fighting for the commoner. And to get my actual instructorship, which is the highest level, I have to take someone to completion of art. So Micah has agreed to be my Padawan. And he's already really progressing. So We keep him busy. But like I said, motorcycle racing, not his thing. But I mean, he's friends with Nathan and Blake and Giacomo and Jackson and Stefano and Ryan. And the list goes on and on and on. Because, I mean, Mike has been around ever since he was born. He's been around racing. At 21 days of age, I had him on a baby Bjorn on my chest, riding up and down the drive at corner spin.
I love it.
And
My
now,
son,
Cross America on the back, right?
dude, that's absolutely right. That's something I want to do with my son. My son, I had the aspiration, right? Oh, I got a boy. Yes, I got a boy. He's going to be a MotoGP world champ, at least Moto America, blah, blah, blah. He's absolutely not. I bought him a brand new TTR 50 before he was born. Rode it one time, so I sold it, right? And then he got a little bit older, so I bought him a FSC 110 Pister Pro, 4-speed automatic. Rode it 4 times. He just said, you know what? I'm just not into it. I'm nothing like you, okay? But he enjoys going to the races because he's friends with Yandel Medea. I mean, he's friends with a lot of people in the paddock because I go all the time too, right? And that he really enjoys, right? But when we get away from there, I'm like, hey, man, MotoGP or the BSB or the TT's getting ready. Come on, you want to watch it? He's like, nope, I'd rather go in here and play Fortnite or be on my Oculus or go down the creek and jump in or whatever, right? He just, yeah, so I get it. Yeah, I get it. But he would go on an adventure with me for sure because he loves it.
Planet, you know, I think with Mike, and we've already talked about this. I said, and I'll say it right here, and you can either yay or nay, but I said, you know, in 4 or 5 years, if you're into it, I'll buy a pair of 300s and we'll take off from the Outer Banks and go to Oregon and ride the TAT straight across. And
sure, I'm in. I'd be happy to do that.
So he said that over and over. We'll see. We'll see where his head's at in like 4 or 5 years. But yeah, I think that'd be really cool for us as father and son. You know, of course, I'll be a little older and I'll need his young muscle to help me pick up my bike when I drop it. Dude, we dropped the Tenere. I'm 5'7" and shrinking. I'm 66 now, right?
So even though I'm shrinking.
Yeah, it's like it happens. But even though I'm wicked fit and I cycle all the time and, you know, lift weights, I'm not a big dude. So we bought this portable winch with sectioned poles. You wrap it around the bark guard on the ground and you ratchet strap it up, and then you can lift the bike all the way up. At 5'7", I dropped that bike 6 times. You know, it was on the ground a bunch because I'd lose my footing. I couldn't get my foot down. I think the only time we actually had 2 offs. Once was we had an inch of rain in South Dakota. And we came up on this road and we'd gone through construction sites already, getting ready to hit dirt.
And right before it,
was dry and dusty. But then right before it,
there was a beautiful gleaming sign that said
impassable and wet. So we go down this farm road as part of the BDR up there, right? And I go around this corner. It's about 90 degrees. And it was like, you know, crusty on top. And it looked fairly dry, but wasn't. And it's 2-track. And I go around it at about 15 miles an hour, and the bars do this, and I'm on the gas, and it pushes, and it pushes, and it pushes, and it was not coming back. So dude over here bails off and, you know, lands like a gymnast, hands up in the air, perfect 10. I'm under the bike kicking it off of me. I get up. I'm like the creature from the Brown Lagoon. He doesn't have a spot of mud on him. You know, he's laughing at me. Get the winch out, and we couldn't get the winch to work because it was wicked muddy.
Yeah, and so the winch, which is literally a pole with a ratchet strap on it, does this the whole time. So it's just sliding under the bike. I'm like, oh, come on. And so finally we get the bike up. But
finally got the bike up.
Yeah, and the second time we do it, it's the
Alpine Loop. We're on the other half of the Animas Fork River. We're on 2-track, and we had just gotten our tent up. And
about 10 yards away from our campsite.
A little further now. I call it 100 yards. And there was some coming up ahead of me. There was baby heads on a water crossing. I'm like, and it was 2-track. It was really gullied out. And it was just this big, nice row of dandelions, which are all full of that white dandelion juice. And I wasn't thinking about it. So I'm like, well, I got to be over here to go over the baby heads in the stream. All I did was cross over the dandelions, and
it shot us straight up the hill.
Sideways.
And so, because it's up the hill, the ground's here. Here's the bike. My dad can't touch the ground. So we jump off, and the bike's laying down, and it's just the whole thing.
It's like a scene from like a Monty Python or a Benny Hill. We're sideways up this embankment, right? And we're stopped. And so I'm balanced like a trials rider momentarily, but my feet are 2 feet off the ground because it's like this, and I'm on the hillside, and I can't touch the ground. I'm like, bail off. So we bail off like falls, but now it's uphill and it's heavy. So I'm like, ugh. So we take our bear bag, we empty it out, and I strain to lift it up because I have really nice Moscow soft bags, and we try to shove that under there. Now I'm going to drag the bike down onto level ground at 11,000 feet, right? We're 11,000 feet. Trying to get this thing down. And then the two of it, we didn't even use the winch. We lifted it back up. But it's just one of those things. And for anybody out there that rides ADV, you're going to have it happen to you. You're going to get sucker punched. Just like you're sitting at the bar, you're having a beer, and all of a sudden it goes, hey. That's what happens. It happens from time to time. And that's, that was one of those things. We get the bike uprighted. We got back out on the Alpine Loop, and we started, going our merry way. But that was not what we wanted to do right after breakfast.
Facts, right? You're like, I don't want to do this right now. I'm full. My belly's full. This is not what I wanted to do. Listen, man, dude, we're an hour into this, and it seems like we've only been talking for like 20 minutes.
We're bouncing on all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's funny because, with Micah, he's been around motorcycles his entire life.
Literally my entire life.
From day 21 on up. I mean, and you heard the list of names, and apologies to Shane and CJ and all these other athletes that have been with me for many years, that have all, seen Micah grow up, and Scott Harwell and Calvin Crosland. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So apologies if I didn't name you guys straight up. But, he's always had motorcycles around him. Me, it was different. I remember when I was 6 or 7 years old, my dad, a Korea vet, a railroad man, just wasn't into motorcycles at all. And so my cousin, Stephen Lee, lived down in Rock Hill, South Carolina, had a Honda 305 Dream. I didn't even know my dad knew how to ride a motorcycle. So it's hot. I mean, I can still smell the pines. I can still smell the blacktop. So I'm like 6 or 7 years old, and this is summertime, and it's got to be 90, 95 degrees with the heat radiating up from the ground, and I can just still see it in my mind. And I'm holding on to my dad, my head's turned sideways, and we're rolling down this South Carolina blacktop in the middle of summer. No helmets, just ripping. And, for me, it could have been 190 miles an hour, but it was probably 45 miles an hour. The greatest thrill of my life. And at that moment, it's like, I'm all in. I mean, both feet, both hands. I am in. Every allowance I got, everything I did, it was to buy Cycle or Cycle World and cut out pictures. And you'd go into my bedroom, and I'd open the stapler up, and like I'm taking the magazines apart, stapling up the walls. My mom would come in and just like, oh God. Because we moved a lot. I went to 13 schools in 12 years. So we were constantly moving, which means there were constant holes in the walls. Everywhere we went, I'm pulling down my photos and I'm putting them back up, and I'm going to the movies and watching first run of On Any Sunday. It's like, that's all I ever cared about doing, was riding a motorcycle. And I am so blessed to have had the life that I've had. I've worked as a MotoGP official and an AMA official. I've, worked for Speed TV. I've traveled internationally. I've raced myself. I mean, I'm just giving you the whole umbrella. It's like, and now I'm a coach. I'm a skills development coach. I'm a riding instructor. I mean, how great is that? And now I get to do a story, ask to do a follow-up story with American motorcyclists, and they're providing a bike, and Bridgestone supplying tires. And hopefully my good friends at Climb are going to get him hooked up again. He's grown 4 inches. So, it's like, what a blessed life I've had. And it's not over. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm really thankful, because if you look at our industry, it's a very, very small industry. This is the United States of America. People ride motorcycles because they want to, not because they have to. You look at South America, Asia, Europe, and people ride mopeds, they ride bicycles. If they're lucky enough, they can get a motorcycle, and there's mass transit. And man, if you're really lucky, you get a car. But here, you ride a motorcycle because you love motorcycles. That's pretty much the truth of the matter. And anything we can do to grow American Motorcycling Association, anything we can do to grow WERA and CCS and Moto America, I'm all in, man, because this is our world.
Absolutely, 100%.
I pontificate a lot. Sorry about that.
No, dude, you're good, man. I love it. Dude, you tell your story, man. I love it. You know how you got into it. So I was like you. I moved all the time. I grew up in the Navy. My dad was a fighter pilot, so you can
My
only
dad was
imagine.
a Navy man also.
Okay, so dude, proper mega, man. So yeah, I was just like you. I had the motorcycle magazines, taping them all the wall. My mom would come in there, my dad too. He's like, God damn it, dude. Like, what, are you kidding me again? Again? Right? Everywhere, right? Yeah, obviously you can still see I'm still at it, right? And
Look behind us right here.
I know.
I found this on Facebook, and it has 1,100 miles on it. It's a 1982 CB750F, and I just picked it up a couple of weeks ago. It looks brand new. It hasn't been cranked in years. The gas tank is dry, the carbs are dry, but they're going to have to be sonicated. I think they're originally put up with gas in the bowls, so I'll pull those and sonicate them. But Mike and I know the poor guy did not want to sell it. His wife was like, "You have to sell this bike." I'm the third owner. The first owner sold it with 1,134 miles on it. This guy's had it 5 years sitting in his shed. It still has 1,134 on it. He never got into it, never rode it, never, well, I say got into it, rebuilt it and got it ready. So, and as a matter of fact, it's so funny because Mitch Bohm, the senior editor of American Motorcyclist, texted me this afternoon with a picture of this mint 1982 GS 1000S that he just picked up today. So we're both just like cheesing. We're about the same age. So we're both cheesing over these old bikes. But yeah, I plan to get this thing going. I've got a 78 Z1R Kawasaki that I already ride. That's what, your favorite bike now that we have?
I think so.
Yeah. Got a few scooters in the stable. But this guy, yeah, put him on the back of the Z1R, take him back to 1978. He loves it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. I got a 03 RC51. I got a 04 CRF 100. I got a 08 Ducati 848. So yeah, that's what I have in my stable currently.
Very cool.
Yeah,
So,
man.
nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. So Aaron, man, you know, getting into motorcycles, doing the corner spin, and the corner speed, man, you've met so many great people in the industry. You've hung out with the legends of the sport, but don't forget you're an absolute legend yourself.
Well, I don't feel that way, but I appreciate the compliment. You know, a lot of times legends aren't with us any longer. So hopefully I'll be around a bit more.
You will be.
But I've really been blessed to do a lot of cool stuff. Is, you know, again, if we look at the world of motorcycling like a funnel, just like, you know, oil funnel, if you look at the very top of the funnel, that's anybody that's ever ridden a motorcycle. And then you go down a little bit. That's anybody that's ever maybe taken a school. And then you go down a little further. Talk about racing. It's like, well, somebody's ever done a track day. You go down a little further. Somebody's raced as a novice. Then you go down a little further. Somebody that's really competed and got their expert license and maybe won a championship and then gone pro and then blah, 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 all the way to the bottom, right? Well, when you get to the point where you're working as an official with AMA Superbike or with MotoGP, and people say, hey, do you know so-and-so? Do you know so-and-so? It's like, yeah, because our world is so small. When I was a FIM official back in 05 and 06, I was the chief steward, or not, I was the national steward for the MotoGP at Laguna Seca. And so I get to go in the jury room and hang out with the who's who and interface with all the teams, etc. And at that time, there were only 8 of us that were FIM officials in North America. That's Canada and US. There were 8 of us in total. So it's a small world. So when I come back and say that I feel truly blessed, I mean it. It's a little tiny world we live in, a little microcosm.
It really is what I call our beautiful circus.
Yeah,
it's the most, yeah, it's our beautiful circus. You're in the circus, and everybody, it's just love and genuine, right? It genuine good people, and the stories and the happiness there. I love being at the track, seeing all my friends. It's like I have the greatest time ever.
Even your competitors help you out. I remember back at the 92 or 93, maybe, I can't remember. It was the WERA Nationals way back in the day. And this kid blows his motor. He oils down the back straightaway at Road A. This is when we still had gravity cavity. And I'm in the practice. And I remember there's a Canadian superbike guy ahead of me and myself, and we come out of Gravity Cavity, and I watch the back of his bike do this. Okay. And then I'm looking at it like, that doesn't look right. And all of a sudden my arms are doing this. And I'm like, oh, that is not a high performance hand position. And I'm on knee on the deck and I'm sliding. I'm going through the oil and I'm going down under the bridge, down the hill towards 12. And as I'm sliding on my back in my new Day and Easy leathers, I'm watching my bike flip all the way down the hill. Okay. So now it's like last practice of the day. I'm bummed out. You know, the nationals are the next day. The backstory is this: the competitors, the family, the circus, as you call it, the family. There were guys that were giving me parts that were my competitors, going, dude, I know it sucks, but we want you out there. You know, if I win this championship, I want to win it fair and square. I want to know you were on the grid with me. So it's like, that was a pretty awesome moment. That was my first real moment of feeling the brotherhood with amongst my fellow racers. Yeah, it was cool.
And there's nothing like it. It's nothing, right? And your family forever. And I'm sure you still talk to a lot of these people too, correct?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. In this day of modern technology where we have phones that do everything, we've moved back to the 1880s and we're using telegrams and telegraphs, right? We sit there and we text all day. But I connect with a lot of people on Facebook, you know, that I haven't seen in years. I started out on motorcycles, and then I went to bicycle racing in the mid to late 70s. And I actually thought I was going to try to be good enough to be a pro cyclist. So I raced in Belgium in 1978, one of the few Americans to go over back in the day. And I met this British cyclist, black cyclist, Maurice Burton. And Mo, great guy, like this, Mo spoke like this, right? He's a black guy speaking like this. And I'm like, because I'm this young American kid, you know, and for me, African Americans do not have that accent. And it was really neat, but I got to be friends with Mo, and we stay in touch now. We reconnected. So sidebar story, I'm connecting with people I knew in Europe. I still connect with some of the folks that I met at the Macau GP, some of the folks I met in Ireland. So yeah, it's really cool.
Speaking of the Macau, that's something that's a place I always want to go to too. If anybody don't know what the Macau is, look it up. It's a one race every year in China. And yes, you see pictures of it. It's got the yellow walls all the way around the track. It's simply amazing. And Mark raced there too.
Here's the scary part about Macau. They close the streets, you practice, they open the streets back up at night. That means all these oil puking, diesel puking trucks and cars go over the cars, over the track. And then they close it the next day. So conditions are always sketchy. Conditions are always changing, and it's dangerous. I mean, Macau's a dangerous track. And that's one of the reasons why, is because they've got all of these, I don't want to say unregistered, but really suspect vehicles in Macau. So yeah, it's something else to be there. It's a heck of a race for sure. And then all three of the guys that went over, Josh Hayes, Jeff May, and Jeremy Toy. I think Josh got 4th or 5th. Jeff was right behind him, like 5th or 6th. Jeremy was still top 10, like 8th or 9th. So we, as Americans, made a really good showing. And then after we did that, I asked Jeff if he was going back. He goes, "Not in your life." He says, "I did this to promote me and push my career forward." And after he rode at Macau and did so well that year at the 04 Superbike overall here in the U.S., I think he got 5th overall. I mean, traveling around, he and Jody and Tim in his Cherokee, his little Jeep, pulling like a 5x8 or a 5x10 trailer, or 6x10, whatever it was. I mean, packed like the Clampetts, and then living on credit cards. After he really proved himself and rode super hard against the factories and did as well as he did, that's when he picked up his ride, I believe, with M4, and then later with Michael Jordan, and then, with Eric Buell. So he's had a really stellar career. So to be a part of that was really neat back then, working some with Jeff. And I'll tell you a funny sidebar. I had Jeff come in as a guest instructor at Corner Speed And I said, okay, man. I said, I want you to be my coach. I want you to ride behind me and tell me what you're seeing. And so we go out, and I'm riding I think a 996 at the time. And so go ripping around the track, and he comes in laughing. He goes, man, you should be riding those tires. Because at the time I was riding those Diablos. They had just come out. And he goes, dude, you're laying a darkie that wide through the kink, just spinning it all the way through. He goes, why are you riding it like that? I'm like, well, you're right behind me. I got to push a little bit. And so I thought I was going fast, right? And it was just like a scene from the original Men in Black, where Rip Torn is talking to all of the potential guys there. He goes, you've become everything we've come to expect from government training, right? And he was kind of saying that to me. He's like, you're everything I've come to expect from an instructor. You do everything perfectly. You're super smooth. And dude, you've gotten slow. And I'm like, oh! And I'm like, hey, it's like, dude, you're riding at the top now. But, it's like, you never want to hear that,
No,
and
you don't.
Now, as an aging athlete, I hate to hear it, I'll go out. I had Blake Davis and Crease Elliott. Crease just started training with me out of Colorado. They're both in the 600 super sport class. And Crease hasn't done a lot of this type of training. So Blake brings him down, and I'm showing Crease how to tuck the front. And my latest, email blast, for the 1.5 school coming up this weekend shows a picture of Crease tucking the front. And so I'm going out with the boys, and I was having a good day. And you can ask them. I'm not, blowing smoke here. I was having a good day where, I made them chase me a little bit, which felt really good, because at times it's like, there are days where I'm like, I don't want to push that hard. This old body, it bounces the same. It doesn't get up the same.
Right. I don't recover the same. Speaking of Jeff May, absolute legend. I met him in Road America. I've been a huge fan of his. Finally got to sit down and have a chat with him. You guys stay tuned. I done gave it away. I just said it, Jeff. Jeff's be on the podcast.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
So when we were down at Daytona a couple of years ago, I was 23. So Mike is down. He's hanging out with Riley, Jeff and Jody's son. So they're palling around all weekend long. That's while I was there to coach and work with Blake for his inaugural 200. So yeah, that's Mike and Riley are buds.
That's awesome. And then you mentioned Crease Elliott, right? Crease is a good friend of mine. I had him on the podcast. I actually got to meet him and his dad in Road Atlanta because I went to the first round there. And yeah, he's super fast. He's a future. On my podcast, I get a lot of the SFL mini kids, the Junior Cup, and the young kids in the super sport because they're the future of our sport.
Yeah, Blake and Crease both are 17 years old.
Yep.
And they're wicked fast.
Oh, Blake's a legend. Dude, he's 45 minutes up the street from me, and he lives in Lynchburg, and I'm in Runner. He's literally 45 minutes away. So, Blake, you've been telling me we need to get you locked in on this podcast. We can sit down with your coach, too, at the same time. He can come in and, harass you a little bit on the podcast. It'd be a proper mega time. Be a good time for sure. We'll make it happen. Yeah, it's awesome, man. All the lives you're changing, everything you're teaching the young students. You're like, I'm a big Star Wars fan. Okay, so you're the master. You got all these little Padawans around you, running around, sliding the front, tucking everything, doing all this cool stuff, and these are the future of our sport, right? You play a role in all that, and I'm sure that's so satisfying for you, right? It
really is. I mean, guys like there's Nathan Gauker, Reese Frankenfeld, Ian Fraley is doing pretty well now. I'm trying to think of all the kids kind of in that 12-year-old range that I'm working with.
And Nathan, for those who don't know, Nathan Gauker, isn't he in the British Talent Cup?
No, he's in the Moto 4 in Spain.
Okay.
And I mean, he was throwing down lap times, that put him in the top 5. And he's pushing hard to get to the top of the box. I think it's only a matter of time. It really stinks that he had the setback with the injury. But honestly, man, I think the world of, Joe Roberts and Kayla Yakoff and Blake Davis. But I think that for where we are, to get someone to the very top of MotoGP, I'm really thinking it's going to be the generation of like the Nathan Gauker generation. The kids that are now going to Europe and racing. Like Kenzie's over there now,
Yep.
Christian's over there. Who else? There's 2 or 3, 4 Americans over there. But the point of the
my
story
buddy
is
Jillian Carrera in the British Talent Cup, he's over there.
Julian's there, you know. That's right. So again, to rise to the top, it's like you really have to get to Europe, you know, early. I mean, Nathan has been going to Europe since the age of 8. So he went to the Ovale Championships when he was 8 years old, just before he turned 9, or right in that range. So getting over there and getting your feet wet early, and then getting additional coaching. We do things a little differently here. They do stuff there. We try to combine and meld curriculums together to make sure that we have a complete athlete. But it comes back to getting to Europe at an early age, because there you can race a lot, and the level of competition is extremely high. Here we have good competition. There it's great competition. So getting our American hopefuls to Europe early is big. I mean, in cycling, I'll give you a good example. USA Cycling, they have a junior house in Belgium, which means they take all their 15 to 17-year-olds to live in Belgium and train and race as teenagers as they're building, you know, they're getting stronger. This is for the male and female athletes. So by the time they're 18, 19, 20 years old, they're already racing in the European Championships. They're the hopefuls that, you know, move on to the Tour de France. And that is just a parallel that works hand in hand to what we do as well in motorsport.
No, 100%. And always, it's detrimental for us to go over there and train at a young age in Spain, because they're actually racing proper race bikes, stiff chassis motorcycles, right? I think I don't know. What is your opinion, Aaron? Like this is my opinion. Like it's hard for somebody that rides. I call it a soft chassis, a street bike, right? Like your R1s and your ZX10s and all that. You grow up riding these soft chassis motorcycles, then you go over there and you get on a proper Moto2 bike, right? And everything's super stiff. So your natural, the way you got the feeling out of the soft chassis don't translate over to a super stiff chassis bike, right? It's different.
So what, wait a minute. Let me see if we're on the same page. You're talking about adult athletes that have been racing like
kids. Well,
wait a second. When we're racing with kids, they're not going to be on a stiff Moto2 chassis. There are enough bikes out there that are in the Ovale and smaller, more affordable racing. When you start riding at 3, 4, 5, and 6, it's apples to apples. When you get up around 11, 12, 13 years of age, that's when you're starting to get on a proper GP chassis. So it behooves them to be training in the dirt, low friction, multiple disciplines, flat track, supermoto, road racing. I love motocross, but I really try to steer my athletes away from motocross for the simple fact that it's rough on the body and you can get injured. I mean, Jake Lewis, for instance, he had the Yosh Superbike seat, got injured, lost his seat. Tony Elias came over, right? So, I mean, and it was a motocross injury. Same time, Nick McFadden was racing for M4. Nick goes out to training with Garrett in Texas, breaks his wrist, blows out his season. And all this stuff happened February, March kind of time. And it's like, ugh. So, I mean, those are 2 examples of no, don't ride motocross, even though it's a really great sport. This is my personal opinion. But getting back to your question as I sidebar off, trying to bring it back full circle, I really feel like riding multiple disciplines, seat time, and then getting over early to find out how the European racing works. I mean, what is it like there? Start learning the language, start learning how they do things, compete against some of the other kids, make friends with some of the other expats or foreign nationals that are racing in that area, or, in Spain or Italy. That's what we need to do to get over there early. Joe has done really good to assimilate into the European culture and get to the top of the box. That's a really hard thing to do. I don't want to say at his age, but he went over there older. He didn't go over there at like 7 or 8 or 9 years of age. And then by the time the kids get to the age 14, they need to be in Europe. Like the Red Bull Rookies Cup. 14 is when you need to be there. Try to go in at 12 or 13, you're going to get, kind of ground up. but 14 is a good age for Rookies Cup. And again, these are not just my words. These are a lot of other professional coaches that I've like communicated with, and with like, yeah, they've got to be mature enough and strong enough to withstand the rigors of that racing. So does that kind of tie into what you're asking about? We get it from the chassis thing, but you see where I'm going.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this: do you think it's harder for an adult road racer, let's say that's 28 years old, been racing Moto America, I'm just going to use that as an example, and then finally goes over to like Cambobier, right? Moto 2. It's such a big, hard transition from. Do you think right, a big step from the soft super bike to a super stiff chassis, right?
Well, I can't really speak to the chassis without having ridden both or whatever. But I will say this is like there's only 2 American athletes, and you know who they are that I'm going to name right now, that went over at an older age and they rocked the world. They set the world on fire. Nicky Hayden, Ben Spies.
Facts.
And both guys went over already in their 20s. And Nicky Hayden, I think, was 21 at the time.
Yep.
And Ben was,
I think he was a little older.
20,
wasn't Ben?
22.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point of the story is that these are 2 Americans that were able to go over, I would say, and again, this sounds weird when I say later in their career, but you think about it. You look at somebody like Rossi, he was, racing 125s at 16.
Yeah.
So when we look at the broad bell curve of racing and racing ages and where careers go and where they peak and where they fall off, we see, racers that are able to go over and make it happen, right? And now Joe Roberts, I'd love to see him win a Moto 2 title. It'd be great to see him get bumped up. Time will tell. It'd be great to see that happen. And we wish him the best there. But again, going back to the aging thing, it's like right now, Kayla's been over to Europe. She's back here. If she's performing well enough here, get her back to Europe. And that's what, we see with our athletes. We have to get them back over there. They've got to, again, assimilate into the culture. They've got to know how the game works. They've got to ride their motorcycles. Get with a team over there where you do have that stiff chassis you're talking about. Getting the bike set up. And everybody likes a different setup too.
Yeah.
So that's, you can sometimes work around that chassis setup depending on what you like. I'll give you a production-based bike analogy. Years ago, my friend Kurt Hall, he was offered the Yosh ride in '89 and turned down a ride for John Ulrich. And I said, why? And he said, well, I need seat time. So he ended up riding everything, 600s, 750s, 1100s back in the day, and really fabulous racer. He liked his stuff stiff as a buckboard, really super stiff. Then I talked to my friend Jamie James, the '89 Superbike champion. And he goes, I like it nice and soft so it moves. I like to feel what the bike's doing. Right? That's Jamie.
Yeah.
And he looks like a salmon, going upstream. He loves a soft setup. So everybody's different. So some chassis or some setups are going to speak better to other riders, just like the development. Pedrosa, man, what a great, fabulous rider. But he was developing the bike for Marquez, essentially. Right. I mean, it's like, that's not fair to Pedrosa, but, that guy was, he really had one of those tough luck careers. He was like the Rubens Barrichello of MotoGP.
100%. To me, he's one of the best riders that never won a MotoGP champion, and Pedrosa to this day, when he shows up on a KTM, he makes Bender and Miller and he beats everybody in the factory KTM. He's still got the speed. He's still got the love for it, right? I mean, obviously he's still up there and fast. It's yeah, man, we need more Americans in MotoGP. We actually got Mallory Dobbs over there in the FIM all women's class racing alongside World Superbike. She's actually teammates with my friend Lizzie Whitmore over there too. She's from BSB, which is awesome, right?
Excellent.
So, and speaking of Laguna Seca, yes, we are going back. I've been there one time in my life, and that was 2005 when MotoGP first come back.
You want to go to Laguna?
Sure.
Yeah, I want to go back. Yeah, I love
Me too. It's absolutely, and to me, Aaron, my favorite turn at Laguna. Everybody talks about the corkscrew. The corkscrew. It's a beautiful, magical corner. Absolutely, but to me, it's turn one. Turn one is blind, left, wide open, flat out in fifth gear. Can't see over. Cannot see over the other side. That's what separates the men from the boys at that track, in my personal opinion. Is that corner?
I've never had the opportunity to ride Laguna. I've been there a bunch of times, but yeah, T1 is something else. T9 is also rainy curve. When you come off the corkscrew, you come down is that really fast left-hander. Yeah, that's something. I mean, the bike lays in there really good. I've got some great pictures from that. I actually snuck out on the photographer's perch because I've got the big lenses, so I didn't have credentials, and I just kind of snuck out there and got a bunch of great shots back in the World Superbike days. But yeah, that's a great turn as well. But yeah, I think you're right. T1 is like, yeah, that separates the men from the boys really quick.
Yeah, it does. It's such a beautiful. And speaking of Marc Marquez, what do you think about him just signed for the factory Ducati?
I think that's a good direction for him. I really do. We'll see, man. The guy has so much talent. We'll see what he does with that. We'll see if he gets that next championship he's looking for.
It's possible. I mean,
he's not done yet.
No,
I mean, that arm is all jacked up, and you've seen some of the videos that he's put on lately, and you look at the scar, and it's like, man, that is gnarly. But yeah, they had to go back in a couple of times to get that right. But yeah, I mean, what an athlete, so dedicated. So much respect for him.
Listen, we're Rossi fans, right? Absolutely. So it was always that dislike, not big of a fan of Marc Marquez, but since Rossi retired, I found myself genuine a fan of a lot of riders, right? With the exception of my favorite racers. I don't have just one. They're all my personal friends that race in Moto America and British Superbike and the TT and ASBK, right? Dude, they're all my personal favorites, right? But
yeah,
I've grown to respect Marc Marquez in a different way. I look at it different now because Ross is not here. And I guess we don't have that love-hate relationship, right?
Right. Well, it was like Gibernau and Rossi, when that went on for a while, that rivalry. Schwantz and Rainey, you got to have those rivalries. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. It's like when you have those rivalries, man, it makes for good competition. It makes for drama. It makes for good writing and stories. I hear you 100%.
Yeah, but the whole just looking at it different and people are like, oh, Jorge Martin should get the ride, Marc Marquez should get the ride. And I said, look, from a Ducati perspective, this is me and my personal opinion. Marc Marquez is more of a marketable guy, right? I feel like they'll get more sales off of Marc Marquez than they do with Jorge Martin. Simply the fact you go to a MotoGP race, you don't hardly see any Jorge Martin fans, but you see a ton of Marc Marquez fans, right? The double edge of this, the other side of the coin is all it's going to take is one really good bad wreck, and that's going to be the end of his career, right? Because he's had so many.
That's true for so many racers, man. I mean, it's that one off that gets you, and you have to think about the cumulative effect also. And when I say that, when Kevin Schwantz retired in '95, was it 95 he retired? End of 94.
Yeah, end of 94, I think. Yeah.
End of 94. 95 he was interviewed, okay. And in the article, what he was talking about is that every time you hit the ground, he says, you go back and you fight back, but it takes a little bit out of you. So there's a point where he's like, that's enough. And Kevin, that I think for him, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, but it's like he got to the end of 94 and it's like, Wayne's gone, the fire in my belly's just not there. I've had a bunch of offs. I'm good. I've done what I set out to do.
Yeah.
And it could be the same with Marquez. He's going to have that big off. He's going to get hurt, break a wrist, break a collarbone, break that arm again and go, nope, I'm not going to fight back again. I've fought back enough. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, I wish him the best of luck, right? I really do. I know Pecco's not too happy with Ducati, but it don't matter what Pecco says, right? It's what Ducati says. And then Martin going with Aprilia, I think that's a brilliant move. Yeah, I think that he's going to do really well on the Aprilia, and I would love to see Joe Roberts at Trackhouse. Who would not want to see Joe Roberts in the American colors, dude, at the Trackhouse, dude? Let's go, right? We need to start a petition and send it around the world. Joe Roberts to Trackhouse.
There you go, man. But isn't it funny because we've kind of got silly season starting so early already?
Yeah,
We've got riders changing teams, signing contracts, and this is early for that. This is just now June. Yeah.
It seems like it gets earlier and earlier every year.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't really noticed it, but you're probably right.
Yeah. And so I just want to touch with you on Moto America for a minute. What a season it's been so far, right? Jake Gagne, Loris Baz, we got Cam Bobier back. Well, he's been back. STK is back in the sport, and I love to see him all up front, right? And the rivalry's back. Like, I was so excited when Cam come back, and I'm a huge fan of Jake Gagne, right? But Jake's just been absolutely murdering it the past 4 or 5 years. I mean, let's just be honest, right? It's like my good buddy Dustin Cornier, he always says, dude, Gagne's getting ready to do Gagne things, and he's absolutely not wrong, because when Gagne gets out front, it's pretty much over.
Man, we want, I think all fans want to have that close competition.
Yeah.
We want to see that, in Moto America, I want to see that those hard fought battles. I don't want to see anybody check out. I want to see everybody out there, fighting, tooth and nail. My guy Blake Davis, I want to see him on top of the box. Blake he's young, he's got a lot of talent, he's got a good team, he's got some good support. So yeah, I want to see him up there, duking it out with everybody. But yeah, like what we want to see, 2, 3, 4 people just going at it. Once that one person checks out, it's like, okay, we're racing for second. It's like, no, I want to be up there racing for first.
That's right. That's right. And Micah, who's your favorite racer in Moto America?
It's a good question.
Pilot, sorry.
Piloto.
Yeah, Piloto.
Is Blake doing Moto America?
What do you? Yes.
I honestly am not sure. I don't know the separate classes, but
like you said, when you're watching racing and your son's not.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, if you think about it, who would Micah's favorites be? Probably our boys that come out and train with us, and that would be Ryan Wolf, Giacomo Manera, Blake Davis, now Chris Elliott. Yeah, like what he said, right? But and that's just it. It's like we have so many of our athletes that come out and hang out with us. Got to pull for the home team, right?
Got to. Yes.
Boys.
Listen, I'm with it, because everybody you just named, I'm friends with. I see him do nothing but hugs and laughs when I see everybody at the track. It's
visor down, it's a different story. But as soon as the visor comes up, they're all buds, and that's what I love about it. Speaking of which, I don't know how you guys out there in podcast land feel about bagger racing, but I think it's awesome.
I love it, dude. To me, I think, what's your opinion, Aaron? I think the baggers really help Moto America grow.
Absolutely. So what started out is like what many people, myself included, went, it's like a publicity stunt, whatever, right? It's to build the core, it's to build the fan base. But then you start seeing the racing and the lap times, the speeds, and the caliber of rider or pilot that's on those machines. It's amazing. I actually had the Harley factory bagger team out to Corner Spin. That was kind of like a corporate team building experience. They were testing at CMP, and the Wyman brothers were there, but they had thunderstorms that delayed us doing our private 2-day school at Spin. So the Wymans had to take off, but I had pretty much the rest of the team. So I got Marco and all the guys there. And I had, firsthand knowledge of, let's talk about the bikes. And those are like super high tech, 625-pound machines. I mean, the only thing that resembles them about being, quote, a bagger is the shape. It's like NASCAR, right? Call it NAS bike, because when you look at a NASCAR, It's not a Chevy Impala. It's not whatever. I mean, it is a, steel. It's a chassis custom made, and then you put the sheet metal on it. So it's a full race car, right? These are full race bikes. I mean, they custom make the swing arms. They change the come on, brain work. The chassis, the swing arm pivots, everything. You look on there, you look at the front end on those things, the forks and the forks and the brakes alone are like 40 grand.
Yep.
Those bikes, you're talking anywhere, depending on the team or what's going out there, you're talking $300,000, $400,000 for one of those bikes. The factory bikes are just incredible. And then when you watch the racing, it's game on. And the way that they make those things move, it's giggles. And yes, I think it's great for the sport. When you have a rivalry coming back, Indian and Harley Davidson, and it's pulling people off the sofas to get to the racetrack, absolutely. What stunk for me was racing Formula USA. And I say, let me finish the story. I won a GT200 lights at Daytona back in like 03. And I'm all pumped up. It's like, awesome, man. I just won a race in Formula USA. And I go down to Main Street, and it's nothing but a sea of black vests. And then you've got the sea of neon with the what you call it, the spring break kids. It's like black and neon kind of filtering through Main Street. And I'm all pumped up, and I'm talking to this Harley guy. I'm like, yeah, man. It's like super pumped about the racing out at Daytona. Okay, didn't even get to tell him that I want to race with FUSA. He goes, racing Daytona? I thought NASCAR was last week. I'm like, oh man, it's like you're a motorcycle guy down here for quote bike week, and you don't even know that racing is taking place because we're there, for the first part of the week, that weekend, and then 3 days later, AMA moves in. So for that 10-day period, it's all motorcycle racing. But that's just a prime example of how people within our community don't follow racing, don't understand racing, don't even know it's there. But then we bring the bagger class in, and now they got something to brag about, talk about, go look and see. So now we're seeing numbers increase in the stands. We're seeing the fan base increase. Yes, bagger racing is a good thing.
It is.
And there's a Kevin Cameron podcast. Just find it somewhere. Kevin Cameron's now in his 80s, and he's probably one of the most knowledgeable tech gurus and writers in America that they're still alive today. And he goes like point by point about bagger racing and why it's good. And the way he described it, this is old school superbike racing. And it really is. It's like when superbike racing first started back in the late 70s. That's what the bagger racing is today. Don't take it from me. Listen to Kevin Cameron talk about it. It's huge. It's really huge. I'm really patient to sit over here and listen to me jabber away.
I know. I see that dude is doing great, man. It's my son would have been like, Dad, I'm going to play Fortnite. See you guys, right? And go straight out the door. Yeah, deuces. I'll holler at y'all later, or whatever the lingo they use now. I'm like, who talks like that, right?
I have to get this guy to school me on it, right? Because
Me too.
Graduated high school back in the 70s. Yeah. Then college in the 80s. It's like, so, or finishing up in 80. But the point of the story is there's lingo coming out now in middle school that I haven't heard. But then they say something like, cool. I'm like, whoa, hold on. I've been holding on to that one for about 50 years.
Right. Yes. But so let me ask you this, just going back on the baggers real quick. To me, I got a friend that actually races the baggers, Max Flinders. Big shout out to Max Flinders.
Hey, Max, how you doing? Max is trained with me at Spin.
Dude, Max is absolute proper legend. I love hanging out with Max. He's so cool. And his dad. We called him the Yellow Flash.
Yep.
Huh?
I told you I forgot names to bring up.
Yeah. But to me, I think, Aaron, that the only true factory teams we have in Moto America is the Indian and the Harleys. Straight up. And the closest
factory, was factory money. Yeah.
And, okay. And on top of that, I want to ask you this question. In my personal opinion, in the superbike class, I think Warhorse Ducati is the closest to a factory superbike team that we have in Moto America. And the reason why I say that is because you'll see Paulo Ciabatti come out with the Ducati engineer and help them out, right? You don't see Lynn Jarvis come out helping attack Yamaha or somebody else come out from HRC helping Ashton Yates out, right? But you do see that from time to time with Woolhorse. So
yeah, I don't know the inner workings, and I hear what you're saying.
I'm just saying that's just my opinion.
Right. Well, a lot of times you don't have to see the faces. You don't have to have Irv Kanemoto out there, right? We saw back in the day, but as long as you have that support in this modern age, you may not see the face in the paddock, but there's a lot of support behind the scenes, I think, for the major OEMs out there. But it does give an air of excellence when you have one of the heads showing up. Yeah, it's impressive.
Absolutely it is. And dude, we need Kawasaki back. Where are you at, Kawasaki? We need them back in the sport, right?
We need to get Dale Quarterly to call up the folks at Cali, because he's Cali green through and through. And if anybody's got any pull to say something, it's and Dale doesn't mince words. Get the Cali folks involved. I'd love to see Kawasaki back. Man, I would love to see the full factory efforts like what we had in the 90s.
Yeah.
And again, Kawasaki wasn't even a full factory effort. Back then, it was the
Muzzy Kawasaki, wasn't it?
It was the Teen Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was with Dale, and then it was Rob Muzzy, right? And that was with Scott Russell.
Yeah.
But
Doug Chandler.
Yep, exactly. And so, we haven't seen an effort like that from Kawasaki in a long time. It would be great to see, all the factory teams. I mean, serious factory money coming back in.
Yeah, that's what I'm with it. So I think that's what we need in our sport. We also need outside sponsorships.
It's the how. How do you make it happen? What is it going to take? And again, it's we were blessed, me especially, to be back there in the heyday when we had Mladen and Spies and Hayden. Chandler was still out there. I mean, it's like, man, we had so many fast guys. Neil Hodgson was over here. Troy Bayless was over here. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, right? It's like I can't name everybody because there were so many really excellent racers that went on to big things. And one of the things that Neil said to me years ago, Hodgson, is that, when he was at, this is at Road Atlanta, and I just asked him point blank, I said, so why is it, BSB is so popular and so good? He goes, well, I'm not trying to slag off on the Yanks, right? I'm trying to make fun of us Americans. He goes, we have two classes. We have the 600s and we got Superbike. All the support class, the kids coming up in 600, boom, then they go to the Superbike. Now, things I'm sure have changed a little bit in recent years, but that was his take on it, was that, it was, the money wasn't spread out in so many classes, because at that time we had 600 Super Sport, 600 Super Stock, Formula Extreme, Superbike. I mean, the list, just was out there. I think, 883 class was back in 91 and 2 back then. So, yeah, I'm trying to really taxing my old brain cells to go back in there and see how far back I can go. But you see where I'm coming from. It's like, when you spread the money out over a big, broad umbrella, how much are the factories going to spend? If my effort's going to be one class, then that's where the money's going to go.
Absolutely. Now, I also think that as a UK standpoint, as far as BSB goes, UK is tiny. So the farthest I think most people got to travel, first route, Navarro in Spain. I think that's the furthest they got to travel, and that's like maybe 12 hours away, depending on where you are in the UK, right? So most people in the UK, all the other tracks are 4 to 6 hours away. So it makes it easier and more affordable in a sense for them, right? Where here, me, you, and Mike are going racing, and we're in Virginia and South Carolina. We got to go to Washington, to Ridge, and then go to Laguna Seca. Man, it's going to cost, that's a $10,000 trip to hit both things, drive, gas, the whole nine, right?
Well, when Nathan was racing the Mini Cup, right? So Brent Talley, Philip Gallagher, Nathan's dad, they bombed it. They get in the big Suburban. They got the trailer, and there's a cot, in there, and they just go. and they drove straight from North Carolina to the Ridge. They race the Ridge. They turn around. They drive straight back. And that's a week on a motorcycle. If we're like for us, if we were going to go out west, well, we're going out west, but we're flying, right? If we were to ride out there, it'd be 7 days, it'd be 500 miles a day, 550 a day to get out there.
Yep.
And it's just ridiculous. And it's like, we talk about that, how big the country is. And for somebody that's racing, it's like, man, it's a huge expense, time-wise, etc. Yeah, it's a lot of area to cover. So for most of us that were club level racers, we would race regionals, or you'd race the East Series or the West Series, and then you come together to get the final. But yeah, this nation is huge. It's wonderful. But as a racer traveling, when people complain about a track day, oh, I'm going to drive 4 hours to go to a track day. It's like, I used to dream of driving 4 hours. I drove 10, that kind of a thing. Lived in a box on the side of the road.
Right.
But the point of the story there is that, yeah, we're, locally we're spoiled because we've got VIR, CMP, Summit Point. They're all fairly close.
Mm-hmm.
Savannah's just down there. But beyond that, it's like, oh, starting to make some big hikes.
Yeah. Jersey, we got Jersey. So I drove out to Wisconsin and come back. And it was, I was like 9 hours. No problem. So I drove out to West Virginia to my buddy's house, which is 4 hours. Then he had a Winnebago, Aaron, and it was, you don't go very fast. And it was, it turned out it wasn't 9 hours. It was more like 13, 14-hour drive, right? Yeah. And it's man, but to me, it's the journey. It's the journey, not the destination, right? It is the destination, but the journey getting to the destination is just as important as that. Man, look, we're coming up on 2 hours, man. Listen, we can go on and on. Yeah, dude, I love it. Aaron, listen, we're definitely going to do a part 2 and a part 3 of this. We got so much to cover, so much more to talk about. I want to have your buddy come on here too, talk about what we had previously talked about on the podcast. So before I ask you my favorite part, I want to ask both of you, your first journey together, which was, again, I can't say enough. It was one of the best good feel stories that I've read in my entire life. And I'm not just saying that, I'm honest to God, right? Knowing the journey you guys just went on, you're going to be better prepared. Like, how better prepared are you guys going to be for your second journey versus your first journey?
I wouldn't say we're like double as prepared, because we were we knew pretty well what we were getting into. My dad has been on a similar trip and he was younger, but I think we'll definitely know more of, okay, when we're doing this, we might need to bring this in case this situation happens. But then again, we're going up into Northwest Canada, so it's going to be different, but we're still going to have similar ideas to what's happened last time. So
I'm being more scout-like, be prepared on this trip. Doing all my research. I'm talking to See the Sky ADV group. I'm talking to the Kootenai dual sport folks. I'm getting more knowledgeable about being in the heart of grizzly country and all the things that we're going to encounter, right? Because we're going to be in the boonies in a lot of the areas, right? And so with that being said, it's like I have to have everything ready because I can't do a pre-run here. I have to get everything ready. Can I pack everything? Can I get 50 pounds of gear in each bag and still not have excess? What if I got two, mail outs? So yeah, in a lot of ways, we'll be very prepared. The folks down at Team Charlotte Honda or Team Charlotte Motorsports are going to let me come in and bring all of my gear and pack their V-Strom 800 on the showroom floor to make sure everything fits. And I've got to do that really soon because whatever I can't fit on the bike or fit into my luggage, I got to send it, so I'll be sending it out to a Suzuki dealer on the West Coast. I will say one quick thing before we sign off. Today is June 6th, D-Day. And I am the founder and the director of countersteerlife.org. Countersteerlife.org is what you are talking about. And I just want to put this out there for all of our post 9/11 veterans. Thank you for your service. And my way of giving back and honoring all of you, men and women, is that we have a program that allows you to come out and learn to ride a motorcycle, learn how to ride better. We plug you into veteran riding groups. It's at Cornerspin. I supply the bikes. I supply the food. I supply the tracks. I supply the love. I want you guys to come out. It's Veterans Healing Veterans. I'm the only one out there on the staff that's not a veteran. My dad was a vet. And it's 100% free. We try to help sometimes with travel, but we're not a big organization. We rely on donations. I'm not plugging that for right now. What I'm saying is once you get here, we try to make it completely free for you. We do the best we can there. But it's a safe place, community, peer support. A lot of weekends, we ride a lot. Other weekends, we sit around and jibber jab because if that's what the group needs, that's what the group needs. But it's a fun place, a safe place. And that's for our veterans. And please check us out, countersteerlife.org. We want to, give you some present mind, peace of mind.
Listen, I love it. Have you heard of Vet2Track?
Yep, Vet2Track,
Okay.
and Vet Moto, and Road Warriors.
Yep.
And some really good ones out there getting our veterans plugged into motorsports. Let's see, what is it? Vet Moto. There's one that my admin, he's a
TMBEX.
I can't. It'll come to me in a second. The organization name I can't think of right now. But the cool thing is they plug vets into race teams to where vets are giving a low stress job, but they're in the paddock with the teams doing stuff. And I think it'd be great if we could do more stuff like that as well. I think Vet Moto might be doing some stuff like that. Yeah,
Vet2Track. He does the same thing. He gets the vets out there on a team and puts them on a bike. And then I don't want to mess it up. TBM or TMBEX. Michael Pelosi, I think is his last name. His organization takes. I don't like to use the word disabled. Because they're just as human as we are, right? 110%.
Body, so if you're an AB, you're not facing those challenges. So it's like,
right,
non-AB.
So he'll take them and put them on the bike where they realize. Let's say you lost an arm or a leg and you feel like, I can never ride again, right? Listen, you go with him. He puts you on a bike. They have bikes prepared for. It's simply amazing. And you're right. Send me the link and I'll add it into the podcast. I'll put it out there on social media for you, cool. Aaron. 100%, right?
So it's really cool. Before we wrap up, I had a Vietnam vet that had lost his left arm at the shoulder, and he was there for my school. This is back in like 2002, 2003. I rode one-handed all day long, not even holding onto the gas tank, which is my hand across my stomach, just so I would be able to firsthand relate, in terms of how he rode. It's like, props, man. I learned a lot that day. I think I learned as much as he did.
That's awesome. I love it. Listen, we still have a few minutes because I haven't got to my favorite part of the podcast yet. And this is for both of you guys, okay? I'm going to ask you.
I'll let Micah lead.
Okay, Micah, I'm gonna ask you, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh no,
this is easy.
Oh, they're both really good. Star Wars.
What Star Wars character would you be?
Oh, I haven't thought about that one. I don't know.
Think about it.
Yeah, think about it. I'll come to you, Aaron. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Man, I'm torn on that because I am a William Shatner fan. But I'm going to go with Star Wars because there's all the Disney spinoffs, all the backstories, and the Boba Fett's and the Mandalorian, all that good stuff, right? But you know who I would be? I am Yoda, right? Yeah. Like I'm Miyagi, I'm Yoda. What the heck, The skin says it all. I'm becoming Yoda.
I love it.
I'm a coach. Yeah, I got to be Yoda.
Yeah, that's perfect.
This guy over here, either Baby Yoda or the Mandalorian. Let him be Mandalorian.
The Mando.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that quiet.
The funny thing is, he's sat over here being totally chill, but yeah, get Micah going. He's
again, I won't shut up if you let me go.
He's quite gracious. Very
well, I love it. Well, good. I can't wait to meet you in real life, Micah, and we can sit down and we can jabber. I'll bring my son along. He's your age, so you guys can. Dude, Fortnite and whatever you guys talk about.
He has a good coach. He rides really well when he rides.
Yeah.
He's been riding his whole life. And that's the thing. It's like, with Micah racing, and hey, I'm kind of glad that he's not into racing, because I would be the pit dad spending all of his inheritance and all of my retirement going to the Ridge and going to Road America and going out to Coda. And while that would be a really cool experience, I would be broke really quick. But be careful what you ask for, right? So maybe it's good that Mike is not into racing, but I tell you what, his knowledge base is excellent.
I love it. I love it. So let me ask you this: what's your worst habit?
Me?
Yeah, both of you. Yeah.
Probably interrupting people.
Okay, I like it.
I suffer from that same malady, but I would say for me, I am clinically obsessive compulsive. I have OCD, and I think that is, and the way I go off on these long jibber jabs, see, it runs in the family. But I think the OCD, because I can go down rabbit holes, and that's probably my worst habit is sometimes I don't get what's important done. It's like squirrel. Okay, I need to do this over here. And that happens. So that's probably my worst habit. I've gotten better because of corner spin maintenance. I've had a few people that help me, but I do a lot of the maintenance myself. And it's so easy to get into a bike, and then all of a sudden I'm working on tiny details versus going stop. You've got 9 more bikes to go. So going down rabbit holes is my bad habit. See, it happened just now.
And probably for me also, I think maybe like not stopping when people ask. If somebody's like, hey, can you stop like tapping your pen or something? I'll be like, what'd you say? What'd you say?
That comes with being 12.
Facts, right? Yes. Absolutely. So let me ask you two gentlemen this. Tell us something we don't know about you at all.
Something about us or something we've done, or
no, just like Aaron, tell us something we don't know about you at all. Like, I don't like squash or anything that nobody knows about you.
That most people wouldn't know about me.
Yep, that most people would not know about you.
I have one tattoo and it's hidden.
There it is. You heard it first. What and Micah, what's one thing we all don't know about you?
Most people don't know this. I've told a few people. I've gone over about 165 miles an hour with my father.
So Micah, at the age of 10, did a $165 with me. And the year before, at the age of 9, Nathan had gone like about 162, 163 with me. And we've got Cordura strap with the figure 8 soft ties for handlebars for locking a bike down. And he has his hands wrapped through them. John's got him on the back of the bike, admin, and he's hanging off through the kink like this at about $160.
And then
let me finish. One last thing. Philip said that's probably the scariest thing he's ever done is photographed and videoed Nathan riding behind me at over 160. Because I'm like 6 feet away from you when I come blistering through the kink, and if on a good day with this built Gixxer 1000 I have, I can get right at 170 with a good passenger, provided they're not a real big person.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Michael, what was you going to say?
I don't remember.
See, I went down the rabbit hole.
Yes, dude. I love it. My son would have been the same way. I don't remember. Yeah. So let me ask you this. What's your favorite movie? He's thinking.
Oh, I've got my answer now. My favorite movie used to be Groundhog Day. The transformation of a man's soul over time. And like Harold Ramis said, we don't know if he was there for 10 years, 100 years, or 1,000 years, because it's very Zen, very Buddhist. Like, what does it take to transform your soul? And when we look at Bill Murray's character, it's like, oh, Bill Murray's going to take a while. But now my new favorite movie is animated, Penguins of Madagascar.
Dude, I love the anime. Those are some of my favorite
Well,
movies
not
too.
anime, it's animated, but not the Japanese anime, but it's the animated flick Penguins of Madagascar.
Yeah, like not Disney, but Pixar and stuff
This
like
is
that. Yeah,
DreamWorks, right?
DreamWorks.
DreamWorks.
Yeah, all
Yes.
of those, they're amazing.
I've got a huge DVD catalog of those, and I had them before he was born.
If you open our cabinets of DVDs, you will think he's a hoarder. It's bad.
I love them, man. I love them.
Me too.
Cable goes up, doesn't matter. I got a DVD player. And you haven't come up with a favorite movie?
I do like Penguins of Madagascar. I know there's some other of my favorite movies, but the one that's coming to mind right now is the new Dune and the second Dune. So those two are really good.
Wow, I haven't seen either one of them. Cool.
Me neither.
I also like Cruella. That was nice.
Disney Cruella. That's a good movie.
That is a good movie. Speaking of Dune, I haven't seen it. I've been wanting to watch it. The first one and second. I heard they were really good.
It's really good.
So my next question, Aaron, if you can invite any 3 people to a track day, dead or alive, that could be Joey Dunlop, whoever. What 3 people are you bringing to your track day?
To a track day. Wow, that's an interesting question.
It
Well,
could be celebrities, anybody.
Man, I have no idea. I mean, I've actually had Kevin Schwantz at one of my track days, which is really cool to have Kevin there. But yeah, I think it would. Wow, who would that be? I think it would be cool, dead or alive. Boy, I'd love to give Muhammad Ali a 2-up ride. See what awesome. What's his reaction going to be? And that's the thing. Am I giving these folks 2-up rides? Or
your track day?
Yeah, it's your track day. You whatever happens, but what 3 people are you bringing to your track day?
Oh man, so it could be celebrities.
It could be anybody in the world, dead or alive. Road racers, pilots, it don't matter.
I want to put Abraham Lincoln on the back of my bike.
That would be awesome, right? Jump on the back, Abe.
Oh man, big, tall, skinny Abe. The bag. Well, my Americans are something else.
Oh, put them on the bagger too. Get on the back, Abe.
Oh man, I don't know who else. Who else would I put back there? It's like if I want top speed, it'd have to be Gandhi, somebody thin. I don't know. It's like I don't know, man. It's like that's one of those put you on the spot characters. It's like who do you want to have dinner with? Have dinner with Jesus and Hitler and Gandhi. I mean, it's like what 3 people are you going to pick? I don't know. So there's a couple of answers. How about you? If you went to a track day,
my friend Axel would probably really enjoy that. He's really intense, and I think he would kind of like that experience. Just for the ability of meeting him, call me crazy. Jeffrey Dahmer, his brain is insane. I just kind of want to meet him.
Okay, I'm gonna sign off now.
Yeah, right. Okay, the podcast is over now. Bye. No, yeah.
You start reading stuff on the internet. It's like, what have you been reading?
Yeah, I mean, but I wonder what is going on in his head, and sometimes I don't want to know. But
well, I watch these documentaries as well. Dahmer and Ted Bundy, and all these. It's like, whoa, what is really going on in that person's mind?
Yeah.
And his mother is a PhD in psychology professor. Psychology professor. So. Maybe that could have something to do with the inner workings of the mind.
And what's her name? The judge lady who is
Judge Judy.
That's what I was thinking of. Judge Judy.
RBG.
Oh, Ruth
Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah.
Okay.
Flowing robes on the bike.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could really do her justice. Hello, I'll be playing till Thursday.
This is what I have to deal with every day.
I love it. I love it, dude. It's the aura. I love you too. You guys are awesome. Listen, and we got the legend himself, Chris Elliott. He says, "What's up, Simcoe and Coach A?"
Chris, how you doing, buddy? Can't wait to get you back out. Let's train some more.
That's it. And I can't wait to see you again, Chris. Matter of fact, I have a T-shirt for you. I need to put it in the mail and actually ship it to him. So text me your address. And I think you already did. I just got to go back and look. So listen, let me ask you two this. Aaron, if you had a private island and your house was on this island, what racetrack is going to be on your island? Road race course.
Woo! Road race course, man. Imola is wonderful. I'm thinking of the tracks I've been to. Imola is something else. Mugello right there in the hills. Because I'm thinking about the environment too. The Laguna Seca is wonderful and everything. Mugello, probably Mugello. I've been there, and that straightaway, that long straight. If you've got power, dude, they're hitting over 220 on that straight in MotoGP. It's like
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous track.
It's one of my favorite tracks, but everybody knows my answer. What I'm gonna say, if I had my own island, the Cadwell Park, 110%.
Have your own little mountain.
I'd have my own little mountain. Yeah, absolutely. And Micah, if you had your own island, what track would you have on it?
I've only been to like 3, so
he's been to COTA, he's been to VIR, he's been to CMP.
I've been to Pittsburgh, haven't
been
I?
To Pit Race,
the Alabama one.
And Barber, yeah, I was like, the list is growing.
Right?
Barber, I like that one.
Barber's cool. I think it's Ben Bostrom said it best about Barber. He said, if you took Barber and drew it on a piece of taffy and stretched it 30% bigger everywhere, that would be an awesome track. And I have to agree, because there's nowhere to let the thousands really stretch their legs.
Yeah.
Yes, the facility, the layout, it's a really cool track. It needs to be bigger as far as straightaways and such.
I've never been there. Of course, I've seen on TV 100 times.
The museum is incredible.
What was?
The museum.
Oh yeah, I know. I really want to go.
Awesome.
I want to make it to Barber for sure. It's definitely on my bucket list. So listen, I'm gonna ask you two this. I'm a big audiobook reader. I'm audiobook reader. That didn't make sense. Audiobook listener, right? I do read books. I don't read a lot of books because if I physically read them, Aaron, as we grow younger, it helps me fall asleep, right? But the book that I am currently reading physically is by my good buddy Andy Ibbett. He wrote this book, MotoGP Performance Writing and Techniques. It's absolutely amazing. It's kind of like Keith Code, but
right.
MotoGP and the whole technology side of it. There is writing, but man, it's such a good book, right? But I do listen to audiobooks, and I just got done listening to The Ragged Edge. It's a TT book, all about the Alaman TT. So,
nice.
Aaron, what do you listen to or you read? And Micah, the same question.
I read. I don't do the audio books. And the book that I'm into right now that I'm really enjoying, I sit down with some coffee and I read. It's the book Malcolm by Malcolm Smith and edited by Mitch Bohm. And Micah gave me that for Christmas. And it is an autographed copy. And while I've never met Mr. Smith, I hope I get to while he's still with us. I mean, he is a legend and one of my favorites.
I love it. And Micah?
It has absolutely nothing to do with motorcycles. But A Face Like Glass is probably one of my favorite books. It's hard to explain, and you kind of got to read it a few times to kind of get a full grasp of what it's about, but it's dystopian. It's really interesting. It's a lot of moving pieces in one story, and I really like it. I love the way it's built.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it. So let me ask you guys this. Who's your favorite comedian?
Woo, that's a hard one. We watch a lot of dry bar comedy on the Angel Network.
Yep.
It's clean humor. It's funny. He'll have to think about it for a second. Man, it's like old school. Boy, I was really a George Carlin fan growing up.
Me too. Yes.
Just the way the man's mind works, he's brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. I said the same thing. You just said brilliant, man. Yes, George Carlin is the man for sure.
Right. And it's you're a lot younger than me, but again, I mean, my generation, it was all George Carlin.
Yeah, he's And of course, you also got the greats Eddie Murphy and Dave Chappelle and Kevin Hart and Cat Williams. But yeah,
I was
just
just getting ready to say Kevin Hart
yeah, Kevin Hart's
or Mahmoud Malavi. Yeah, he's a small comedian, but not small physically.
Well, physically he's large,
but he's not very well known, but he's really good.
Oh, he was hilarious. That guy was awesome. We saw him in Dry Bar Comedy on the.
Do you
Angel
have
Network.
Angel, that network?
No, I do not.
It's a
free app. It's Christian based, and you can find it.
Yeah, it's all clean, and
Okay.
it's really funny. Just look at the Mahmoud Malavi. You recognize him. He's really big.
We laughed till we almost cried. The guy is very, very funny. Good comedian.
I'm definitely gonna check it out. I got another comedian for you guys to listen to. Is my buddy BT. He's been in a comic for a long time. He's not on the scale of Kevin Hart and him, but he is absolutely just as funny. He cracks me up every time I talk to him on the phone. Yeah, and see him because I always meet him in Texas for the GP race. It's always an honor. So me, Aaron, I always tell people this. None of us are strangers. We're just friends that have not met yet. Okay. And I really believe that. And another thing I tell everybody that I meet is it's not nice to meet you. It's an absolute honor to meet you. Okay. And another thing that I like to tell everybody is our life's so busy and it's hard from day to day for us just to stop, even if it's 30 seconds or a minute, to enjoy the moment. Whatever moment you're living in, wherever you're at work, at school, at home, sitting on a couch with your dog, your wife, your son, whatever it is, even right now as we're talking, right? Live in this moment. It's something we'll never get back. We can't stop it. We can't rewind it. We can't fast forward it. And I think that if people did that, they would be happier with themselves because you actually get to breathe and just live in that moment and just enjoy it, right? If that makes sense. So
totally. Being present and living in the moment is something that we very rarely do. We're so caught up in the minutia of life. So it's important to take time to breathe. There you go.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So listen, favorite food. What is Aaron and Micah's favorite food?
I'm going to go with cuisine versus a specific. So for me, my favorite cuisine is Mexican. It's my go-to for everything. I mean, I love Thai. I love all cuisines, but my go-to is, if I'm like, I need to eat something, I'll go Mexican. Here at the house, play those rancheros, with the salsa verde. That's,
epic.
Fantastic. The best.
Good. I love it. Great. That's okay. Micah, what's your favorite food?
The fact is, you're asking a 12-year-old, so
he's like McDonald's and Chick-fil-A.
Ice cream is amazing, obviously. We have a local ice cream shop. It has amaretto cherry chocolate chip. And then you can ask them to make a milkshake out of it and put a dollop of the actual ice cream on top.
You're making me hungry right now.
Food, but my favorite food, which adults think is like actual food and
healthy food.
Ice cream is not food. Well, my favorite food is the local fried gyoza at Yummy Banh Mi, which is a Vietnamese restaurant we have near us.
Nice.
In New York, they also have some amazing dumplings at
oh man,
Ping's.
Yeah. Man, yeah, the food in New York was off the chain.
And we ordered an appetizer at when we went to Little Italy, and we got the caviar.
Nope.
Yeah, caviar. What?
Fried calamari.
Calamari. What is
calamari? Yeah.
I don't even know what caviar is. But calamari. We ordered that, and it was an appetizer. It was an appetizer this big. They're New Yorkers.
It was huge. It was huge. It's like, we can't order anything else.
Yeah, this is it. I'm full.
You have a little bit of wine, you're good to go. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, I'm all too well because my grandpa lived in Bayonne, New Jersey, and I used to love to go to Bayonne. Literally, I'm in the back bedroom, open up the window, and New York's literally right there. Like we could just go right across the bridge and be there. So I know exactly what you're talking about. They don't serve small meals. It's a 5-course full meal. Like here's your appetizer. I'm like, dude, it's just me and my wife. Like you're feeding the army here. Yeah, it's So let me ask you guys this: pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
No. Never.
You rat. I actually like it. I'm not as big. I still like it. It was my favorite pizza, but now I have a different favorite pizza. But
And if we don't order one soon, we're not going to be able to order it. We'll have to order that soon.
Yeah. Okay. I won't keep you guys too
so what about you?
much of it. My favorite.
Pineapple and pizza or no?
Oh, absolutely. I love pineapple, dude. Like I'll do. Let's say
I'll eat pineapple all day long, but I don't want it on my pizza.
Man, I love it, dude. I put pineapple like if I go to the grocery store and I don't make I like to cook, so I make my homemade salsa. I don't, but on short, I'll go to the store, I'll buy a paste picante, right? And I'll come home, I'll take a mango, a pineapple, and a fresh habanero and chop it all up and throw it in there with it and mix it up because you get the hot, the sweet. Oh my God, pineapple's so good. You can grill it. It's simply amazing.
One of my favorite fruits, but on pizza, I'm more traditional.
Well, listen, this question is just for Micah. Xbox or PlayStation?
I actually don't play video games.
Oh, dude, you're the only kid I know. And you guys heard this first, dude. He does not play video games. I love it. Absolutely amazing. Yes.
Micah he does so many things and does them actually quite well.
I've got like this tiny game on my phone that I use like once every 2 months, and that's it.
All right, listen, I know it's getting late. I'm gonna keep 2 more questions and then we'll get to all the shout outs and all that. Okay. So first of it, the first is what is your spirit animal?
My spirit animal.
Yes.
Spirit animal. For me, I think it would be the tiger. And there's a lot of reasons for the tiger. The dragon is wise, the tiger is more impetuous and courageous. And I think I kind of move in that direction. I think most racers have that more tiger edge, or the old Rocky eye of the tiger, whatever you want to say. But I think my spirit animal is more towards, the tiger.
I like it. Micah? He's thinking about it too.
Oh, my probably like a rabbit or a squirrel. I tend to be all over the place at times, and so that's probably the squirrel part, or the rabbit is just like kind of just like always there, and I multiply. I'm just like, and so I always not that way.
That rabbit's dynamite.
No,
I love it.
I multiply. I mean, I'm like always. I tend to be like everywhere. I'm on top of everything. So
yeah,
he's omnipresent, ubiquitous.
I love it. I love it. So. If you guys, last question, and then we'll get to all the shout outs. If you could pick one superpower, what superpower would you choose?
I've been thinking about this for literal years.
We have these conversations like, what's your superpower going to be? Would it be making fire? Would it be flying? Would it be whatever, right?
Right.
Go. I don't know.
Time. Like Doctor Strange, be able to manipulate time. To go back in time, ahead of time, slow time.
Pause it. Yep.
It would be to be able to control time. And at that point, when you start to control time, guess what? We finally understand time and reality. Yep. Because as it stands, it's like, okay, we start talking quantum physics, and we go, we start down that rabbit hole of like, we have made this man-made construct of defining our existence over a framework.
Time. Yep.
Yeah. Control time.
It's kind of hard to beat the superpower that my dad has chosen, honestly, but I like that, and I probably would steal that idea, but from X-Men, the lady who shapeshifts.
I can't even think of her name right now. It's on the tip of my tongue.
I can't either.
It starts with an M.
Mystique.
Mystique. That's it. Yes.
I really like that. She has one form, and then she can just become whoever she wants. And so I like that.
I think I think the shape-shifting thing is really cool too.
It is. Absolutely. I don't disagree at all.
What about you?
Oh man, if I had to pick one, man, that's so Superman was always my favorite. Growing up, Superman was my dude, so I'd have to be Superman. The only thing that could be against me is kryptonite. If you don't have kryptonite, then yeah, I could fly. With Superman is I could fly around the earth so fast I can turn back time like he did it in Superman 3, was it, I think, right?
I think
So
so. Yeah.
yeah. So it'd be that would be me, Superman. I would be Superman. That's the
Cool.
powers I'd want to have. 100%. Well, listen, it's been an absolute honor to have the legend Aaron Stevenson and his son Micah on the podcast. But before we get off here, Aaron, I need to give all your shout outs. Tell everybody where they can find you at Cornerspin and your organization, everything. Let everybody know.
Cornerspin.com. And like I said earlier in the podcast, if you want to read the story that I wrote for American Motorcyclist, just go to cornerspin.com, scroll down, click on the magazine cover or the lead, and you can read the article there. And countersteerlife.org is the veteran work that we do to give back to our post 9/11 veterans, where we teach them how to ride. So right now, Corner Speed is on the back burner. I'm focusing all of my energies and efforts into my athletes and my skills development, not only with athletes, but everyday riders. So, and then the ADV school that I teach is also through Cornerspin. So cornerspin.com and countersteerlife.org. And thank you to American Suzuki for putting us up on this next ride, and American Motorcyclists for putting this together. And Climb, hopefully you guys are still on board. And Bridgestone for the tires. So those are my immediate shout outs. Oh, Gary Kinsler, light shoes, Sturgis. He makes all of my light shoes, hot shoes for my flat track for road racers, which we will be putting them all to good use this weekend.
I love it. I love it. So before we get off here, I just want to let everyone know, thank you so much for watching this podcast. I have to give my shout outs to, the first one is the Clothing Kings.co.uk. All my UK friends can go there and get to all your Pendergast merch. They are absolutely their clothes is absolutely amazing. Big shout out to R&D. I'm backwards. RD Racing, my buddy Jake Marsh out there in the UK. BSB, absolutely, dude. He's an up and coming legend. Club 45. Please go sign up and help the kid out. He is an absolute legend. Super, super fast. Very humble. And if you're out there in BSB, stop by R&D Racing. Say hi to Keo Walker. Say hi to my buddy Jake Marsh, right? Second is obviously Bison, right? Again, I say at the podcast, I always say it at the end. Don't buy an off-the-rack suit when you get a fully custom tailor suit fit to you. I mean, why would you not want to do that, right? So go to bison.com, use the discount code Pendergast 2024, receive 10% off all your merch, okay? Flying Eyes Optics is one of my new sponsorships, right? So everybody wears sunglasses underneath your helmet. You know, you after a while you get the pressure points and it don't feel very good. Well, check these arms out, right? They bend. They're actually made for motorcycles. You can put them on underneath your helmets. I wore them for a week straight, and there's times I forgot that I even had them on, to be honest with you. They're made in Austin, Texas, assembled in Austin, Texas. Let's keep it American. These glasses are absolutely phenomenal. FlyingEyesOptics.com. You can use the discount code Pendergast10, and again, receive 10% off. Big shout out to Vet2 Track. Does the same thing, exactly what me and Aaron were talking about. Veterans, thank you guys so much for what you do, because without you guys doing what you do, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Aaron wouldn't be able to be racing professionally, taking photographs. Michael wouldn't be able to go on these adventures. I wouldn't be podcasting. So because of you guys, I love you guys so much. Thank you for what you do. You are the true heroes of America. Okay,
for our service members, all of them.
Absolutely. Firefight, the whole nine. You guys are absolutely 110% amazing. I love all you guys. Thank you so much. If you guys have not had a chance, please go like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and everywhere. I'm out everywhere but Apple because of my computer. I need to update that, but it helps me out a lot and I appreciate it. Again, thank you for everybody that watches, everybody that commented. Man, I love you guys so much. Absolutely. So it used to, Aaron, like, I don't know what happened. I did a new update on StreamYard and I used to do this and little hearts would come out everywhere. So I don't know if it's something they had changed, but I don't know. But anyway, thank you guys so much. What an honor to sit down with the legend, Aaron Stevenson. I keep saying it, man. Listen, you guys stay tuned because we're going to have part 2 and part 3 coming out with Aaron. And I can't wait. Go read his adventure he just did with his son. It's absolutely amazing. I'm definitely looking forward to the second one. And I can't wait. I'm especially excited to read Micah's article. This is the one I'm excited about is your article. It's going to be because now we'll have a kid perspective on it, right? And it's just going to be things that me and Aaron ain't going to think about, and his brilliant mind's going to be like, oh yeah, and it's going to make me and Aaron and all the other adults go, you know what? You're absolutely right, right? Stuff like that. I love it. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much. Stay on with me just for one more second when I end this, okay? Thank you guys so much. Aaron and Micah, is there anything you want to say?
Not really. Thank you for having us on. It was really a privilege. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely my honor. But yeah, until then, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I got another podcast tomorrow, so I'll be seeing you guys then.
Nice.
See you guys.
Cheers.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.